And we're live on air. It's freemanjack on TNS Radio for the Freeman League. It's a bit of an impromptu show tonight. Would have normally been coming to the airways with Super Dubs. Might be doing that a bit later when he gets back from going to see a man about a dog. You know how it goes. Tonight's show will be again about adult topics with adult language, especially with our Eddie here, because he can't shut his gob. It's Eddie Goldtooth, the Fathers for Justice campaigner, who is famous for mounting the roof of Westminster, and didn't you stay there for a fair while as well, Eddie?
Yeah, mate. We've done a couple of venues. We've done the Royal Courts of Justice in October 2000.
Oh, where you gone? Oh no, he's disconnected himself. He's back.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Sorry about that. I was saying, we done the Royal Courts of Justice in 2002, and then that was in October, I think, and we progressed to the Tower Bridge with Spider-Man, Dave Chick.
Yeah,
lovely bloke.
And he was the one sporting the Batman outfit, yeah.
Yeah, I am the original. Yeah,
the original Batman.
I know, it's funny, isn't it? I could tell you a story about that, mate, when it was first propositioned to us by Matt O'Connor. Right.
I'll tell you what, Eddie, hold on. Look, let's just invite people to listen to this kind of poetry set to music piece that you're giving us here as a kind of intro, because I think this just breaks your story and gives people a good idea as to who they're listening to. But we got a good. I'll tell you what. You're up for a good show tonight, mate, because you've got a lot of people listening. We got 57 in the chat box, 58 just gone up to, and that's pretty unusual for a Thursday night, mate. So, and there's an awful lot more people than that listening. That's just the people in the chat box, right? Okay. We usually reckon on a factor of about 5, so 5 times that listening in. So, a few people hearing tonight. Anyway, right, okay, this is your statement.
Yes.
Whilst judges dream in their sleep, I'll take that trip down memory lane as tears roll down my cheeks. No one knows the heartache I've tried so hard to hide. No one knows how many times I've broken down and cried. Corruption, Section 1, Children Act, you on your own, breakup, kids involved, injunction served, affidavits, lose it all, problem solved, old bill involved, get thrown out your own house, lose your job, lose your life, end it all now, pass me the sacrificial knife. Judges' discretions, directions, leave to apply, leave to appeal. Fucking leave me alone. I've been slaughtered, abused, going through a corrupt system, messed up, confused. What's going on? Is this for real? It's doing me fucking brain in. How do you feel? You've been accused of beating your wife up every night, bashing her mercilessly within inches of your life, demanding your conjugal rights. You've even been accused of child abuse. Whoa! The judge, it's been told you're drunken, crazed, drug-taking, window-smashing, bush-lurking, garden-creeping, drunk driving, wife-beating, dog-killing nutter. Contact centres, voluntary workers, this is taking a piss. Social workers, welfare officers, I've never even had a parking ticket. I just want to see me kids. Case number blah blah, step inside the secret court. Behind closed doors you can fidget whilst we all read the biased personal reports. Untrained dough brains wrote them. How embarrassing. Spelling mistakes. We advise the courts. Purple door Kafkas, you do look so deep in your thoughts. Mentally retarded, perverse, ex-prison probation officers, more sense from a junkie on gear. Makes you feel like a convicted prisoner. Please bend over whilst we do you up the rear. Oh yeah, we're being shafted. Have done for fucking years. Fathers for justice, we're fathers for life. Not just when it suits your lying, lunatic, fucking nutcase ex-wife. It's a well-known fact. There is no greater love than that of a parent for his child. Yours is being severed systematically, deliberately, by the courts, clinically, cunningly, deviously, and by the way, don't it just make you feel wild? I feel like me fucking guts have been ripped wide open, the sacred bond between you and your children. Intentionally, it's being broken, it's the courts that do it, they welcome it, arms wide open. Fathers for justice, fathers who care, we ain't got a pot to piss in, I wonder why, and by the way, we fucking do really care. Stand up, Unite. Don't take it lying down. Don't ever give up without a fight. And the kids, do they live happily ever after? Your children without a father? How many daddies have your kids had now? They got more rights than you. Daddy, we don't like this one. Can we come home and live with you? How about the grandparents? What's their points of view? Tears on the telephone, big lump in your throat. They all need new trainers and your eldest son needs a new coat. Daddy, Mummy hit me because the washing machine broke and I think Mummy's new boyfriend sniffs coke. She got lots of new clothes too. Who do you get in touch with? What can we do? Fathers for justice, fathers unite. Please stop all this nonsense and let the kids win the fight. We all love our children, that's why we're here. Someone, please help me. Sir, may I bend your ear? Who can I phone? There's no one there. Who do I get in touch with? Who really cares? We do. Fathers for justice. Thank you.
That was you there, Aaron, and that was superb.
Thank you very much.
I think everyone was quite impressed with that. Right, okay, Giz. Well, what I'd really like to do is, now that we've kind of introduced who you are, I'd really like to start you at kind of ground zero. Let's start from that push bike gear knob, shall we?
The push bike gear knob. I was about 9 years of age, and essentially what happened was my family come from Aldgate. Moved to Dagenham when I was about 5 or 6 or so. Oh no, I think my mum's on the phone now. Shall I put her off?
I can put on a tune to cover you for a minute or two. We can go to a tune. Go talk to your mum.
So sorry, she's very old and I do look.
And apparently it wasn't a call from his dear old sainted mother, but it was some half-cut nephew instead.
Yes, yeah, from my mother's home. And bloody little sod, bless him, but I took him under my wing, and that's a long story. I'm not going to bore you with that, but what I will tell you about is the gear knob. And essentially I was about 9 years of age, and yeah, I mean, like, coming from a deprived family and stuff, like, I wanted a bicycle with gears. And
whereabouts was it that you was growing up, Eddie? Was it Dagenham?
No, it was Aldgate.
Oh, right, okay, so even further in the East End then. So, you know what I mean, that would have been pretty much bombed out, wouldn't it, when you was growing up?
Yeah, apart from the buildings, I lived at 99 Davis Mansions, New Galston Street, E1. And awful bloody block of buildings, outside toilet in a block of flats. How'd you work that out? well, the toilets was outside on a balcony kind of thing that was shared. And it was a two-room flat, 1 bedroom, 1 kitchen, diner kind of thing. I don't know how you would describe it. And mum and dad and 5 kids. Dad was a Pole, fought for this country during the war, etc. And he was given, what do you call it? I don't know what you call it. British title.
British nationality.
That's it, sorry, yeah, and nationalism, yeah. And he accepted, never went back to Poland because the Russians had moved in and nicked all the land. It was quite, the Gorecki, which is my surname, Gorecki, family name was quite well known in Poland, very well off people and stuff, like, lost it all, give it up, like, started a new life, here with mum. And 5 kids later, living in shithole in Aldgate, kind of got the opportunity to move to Dagenham, which was because, like you just said, the Blitz, whatever. And
my family was essentially had moved to Hornchurch from Leighton for much the same reason. You know what I mean? They were part of the kind of bombed out bunch.
Yeah. So obviously I went to school here and stuff, and at one particular point in life, at that young age, after I'd recently moved here, after meeting up with a few young lads my age, we decided to go out, and because money was very scarce around here and that, and I wanted a gear lever on my bike, and I went out and tried and steal one. And what happened was, I actually went to a swim baths.
Yeah, the old bike stands outside the swimming pool.
Yeah. And, I started undoing this gear lever and all that, and this big, fat, grossly obese woman realised what I was doing. And she said, "You all right there, lad?" "Yeah, I'm okay. What have you done?" And anyway, I'll immediately divulge the truth. Like, I'm taking this gear lever for myself, for my bike, yada, yada, yada. And she said, well, look, you shouldn't really do that, whatever. Come on, give us it here. I'll get the bloke to arrange it. And as I kind of approached her, "Gotcha!" And she grabbed me, and the police were called, God knows what. And that's, I suppose, is the beginning of it. I didn't really feel I was doing any wrong, I suppose, at the time, being at that young an age, about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years of old age. Don't quite recall. But from what happened then after was that I had to go to Romford Magistrates Court, whereby...
Know the fucking place all too well.
Yeah.
The glorious K Division sorting office.
Don't know, but a fit person's order was made for my in my best interests. And
so, because you'd been caught nicking this gear knob, somehow, your parents had been deemed as incapable of your care.
Indeed, absolutely, yeah. And
any supporting evidence of that? Any history being pulled up, or just simply the fact that you'd stolen this gear knob?
None whatsoever. Simply
fucking
what you
unbelievable.
suggest, yeah. And a fit person's order was made, and I was looking at Mum and Dad, obviously, and they were looking at me, and I thought, fucking hell, I mean, what have I done?
Yeah.
I mean, this fit person's order was made, and Mum and Dad was told to leave the court, which they did, and there I was, standing in the court, and...
How old, about 8?
Yeah.
Fuck. You know what I mean?
8 or 9. And then...
completely culpable and guilty, obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
entirely capable of understanding the concepts of justice and of crime.
Yeah.
Perhaps by the age of 8 you should at least have some sort of moral compass in which you probably knew that it was wrong to take the gear knob. But as to understanding the consequences of that action, you're way beyond any sort of legal culpability.
Yeah, and from there I was taken by...
I mean, to be quite honest, they wouldn't have been able to use charging you with any sort of a crime, so I suppose the only way of punishing you for that would have been to basically accuse your parents of somehow encouraging that crime or enabling it, or... Sorry, yeah, go on.
Yeah, don't know. All I can say is that I was taken from that court to a place in Harold Hill, and it was a children's home, and it was called Woodstock. That I never realised the significance of the festivals and stuff, until I was there, kind of thing. And it was a children's home, and I changed schools. It was a total kind of,
uprooting.
Uprooting, yeah.
It was too far away for your parents to possibly take you to and from every day, even if you were still in the care of your parents.
Yeah, and the new school, the new people I shared a dormitory with, all had various problems and issues. Some local people, some not, some as far away as, I believe, Chelmsford at the time. Couldn't understand that. And from there I used to go home weekends and stuff, and it was kind of quite, I don't know, antiseptic, or, don't know.
Clinical?
Clinical, yeah. I mean, I was given medication to take of the night so I could sleep. I never ever swallowed it. Most of the other inmates did.
Well, Bill Maloney talks at length about the sort of things that were done under those sort of medications, didn't he?
Yeah, well, Bill Maloney, Partners Films, yeah.
Yeah, because it was him and his 6 siblings all went through the Lewisham care system.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
And were all molested under medication.
Yeah.
So he couldn't remember it being done.
Oh, shocking. I mean, I wasn't obviously aware of that kind of stuff at that moment in time in my life.
No, but you just rejected it out of the, you know what I mean, knowing that you didn't need medicine. I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I felt there was nothing wrong with me.
Yeah, fucking too right. Well, there was fucking nothing wrong with you. You know what I mean? Apart from having poor parents, you know what I mean? That was your crime.
Yeah. I mean,
having committed the crime of having parents that couldn't afford a new gear lever for your bike, you're now committed to a new school, a residential fucking care home, taken out of the care of your natural parents, out of the social set that you're born into and have grown up amongst, and thrown into a completely different kind of society. And I doubt if you would even be exactly embraced into the society of Harold Hill, would you?
No.
I bet every time you went in the shop, the shopkeepers were watching your every fucking move, wouldn't they?
Yeah, of course.
And the same, the neighbours, the local residents. I bet if they saw a group of you walking down the streets, it'd be like stood out at the fence, like making sure they watched you didn't get up nothing while you was walking down the road. So we're talking about basically taking somebody who's essentially still got a moral compass pointed in the right direction, but whose circumstances have driven them through childhood ignorance into what could be considered a criminal act, could just be considered a bloody naughty act, because crime really relies on some sense of foreknowledge of the misdemeanour. Shut up, you two.
Thought you were talking to me, did?
No, I'll tell you to shut up when I need to. Mind you, I tried that with Bill Maloney, that didn't work at all.
Yeah. So there I was in his... Like,
that's not going to help. Not with them two. Just... oh, fucking hell. Just what I need. A bloody puppy chorus. Just start on here, you little shits.
Yeah. Bless them.
Yeah, bless them. With a big stick.
Yeah. No, they don't know.
No, they're 3.5 months old. Just because they're enormous. This is the thing. I'll take them out on the street and people look at them like they're monsters. You know what I mean? And they're only like 3.5. They've got teeth like needles. You know what I mean? They haven't even got their adult teeth yet, but they're fucking huge. Anyway, okay. Looks like they're following Charlie now. Right, okay. Sorry. Go on. The people in the chat box are imploring me to let you talk because I am a fucking renowned gabbler, so go on, please. On with your story, mate.
But just like you said about your dogs taking them on the street, I was kind of in that situation whereby I was always kind of top of my class and always rather physically endowed. In the sense that Dad was a Pole, Mum was English, and I excelled later on in life in physical sports and stuff like that. So I wasn't you kind of normal, average Joe public kid that was a weakling, or I don't know quite how to say this, but I've always had a mind of my own. I've always questioned things, you know, and. If a situation was ever put to me, I would try to understand what that situation was, and totally and truly either go along with it or say, no, fuck off, no, I haven't, that's bollocks. And I've always been like that all my life, and it's really strange. And my first kind of recollection of my way of thinking, as I'm older now, was when I was at this children's home and thinking, well, why am I here? What have I done? Okay, I weren't really aware of what was going on and stuff, and I wanted a gear lever, and this ain't right. I mean, where's my brother and sisters, and, you know, where's Mum and Dad, and... Do you know what I mean? It was bloody awful, to say the least, but I did get to go home weekends and stuff, and I did kind of still maintain a relationship with Mum and Dad and family and stuff. And,
okay, so you got to see them then?
Yeah.
Were you actually able to go and stay at weekends, so it's just like a weekday residential boarding school?
Well, it was more like come home once a month for a day.
Oh, fuck. Right, okay, that little... All right, so you've been completely excluded from your family, in essence.
Yeah. Ultimately, I mean, I clearly recall Mum coming down to visit me once, and it was over Christmas period, and she knitted me a couple of jumpers, and I thought they were great. And, well, it's just a fond and precious memory that I have of Mum visiting me and, bringing me jumpers.
I've got similar sort of things.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember one bloke there who was on about Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And it was like, I think the Beatles were in the charts at the time, and I weren't really up on music at that time. I mean, I was born in 57, so I'm now 54. Quite strange, and I got chatting to this bloke who was about 16, and he had a very, very spotty face, and talking about Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, LSD.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, since found out what LSD really was. It's a hallucinogenic drug and stuff, and I don't even know why he was there. He seemed okay, the boy, but the place was full of misfits, like people. I don't know. I can't describe it. Very, very strange and weird. And as we spoke earlier, before we come on air, the things that you were. The questions that you're asking me about where I was in this and that, I'm getting all kind of strange memories coming back that I've never really thought of until I was there.
Right.
At the time, and it's very odd, very weird. Even now, I've got kind of like cold shivers. Running I can't fucking explain this. I've never done this kind of thing before.
Well, just to make it, if it makes you feel any easier, I appear to have this effect on people. The number of people that have come out to me as the first person that they've ever told. The number of people that have come out to me in all manner of different ways with all manner of stories throughout my life. I mean, literally from my teens to the current day. I mean, from transvestitism to abuse and trauma from their childhood. So.
Yeah.
And like I say, for some reason I seem to be surrounded by people who have experienced this sort of trauma in their childhood and thankfully largely survivors like yourself, not victims. Yeah. And I think this is something that we need to distinguish here, is that, it's a lot of people remain in their victimhood, and it takes quite a big heart and a big kind of a big person to step out of that and become a survivor, and even more to become like yourself and become a campaigner and try to correct some of the wrongs that you saw being perpetrated on you.
Yeah. Well, the plot kind of thickens big time, because from the children's home, I then came out and stayed home for, I don't really remember, possibly a year or so. I kind of missed junior school, then I went straight back to senior school, and I was aged 10 or 11. And I just could not believe the fucking nonsense that was going on there. I mean, every day I'd get the cane. For what? For purely asking simple questions. Like,
questioning authority.
Yeah, exactly.
How dare you question our authority over you?
Yeah, and I remember I was about...
What school did you... oh, no, of course, because it was that,
I went
that
to all
school,
of them.
wasn't it?
I went to Eastbrook Comprehensive. I went to Beverley Boys School, Parslows Manor.
Where are these, up round Harold Hill?
No, it's all round Dagenham.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I still live in Dagenham with Mum and Dad at that point. It wasn't until later when I got married, the second time I got married, I moved to Harold Hill, but I mean, I obviously come to that. But, when I got expelled from all the schools essentially in Dagenham, I thought, what the fuck is going on here? Like, these people can't tell me anything I don't already know. I mean, like, top of the class kind of thing, and I'm asking questions about subjects and stuff, and what's this about? But why is this? Yeah, but why is that? And like, I kind of lose focus on what was... Ultimately, I love school. I love to be learned. I had a yearning for knowledge, which is why I'm involved in electricity and stuff now, because it's fantastic, but that's another long story. I'm not going to bore you with it. But from there I went to, because this fit person's order thing kind of kicked in again, and said, right, okay, you're not getting on really well at schools and this and that, like you're not complying, whatever the wordage they used. And I was sent to this Red Hill Philanthropic Society, which is in Surrey somewhere, where I would be assessed for an approved school. It's shocking. Like, not actually handcuffed or anything, but sent in a police vehicle, and I'm kind of taken to this.
So what, at the back of a Black Mariah sort of thing?
Yeah. Black Mariah.
And how old are you now?
11.
Fuck's sake.
Like, don't know.
And have you committed any other crime other than your stealing of a gear stick?
No.
To add to your heinous. I mean, the list of your criminality is obviously extensive at this point, and they would need to probably protect society from you.
No, I kept getting a cane.
Right.
I had a tear up with the last school I went to was Eastbrook. Mr. Kerrigan was the head teacher at the time, and he wanted to cane me for whatever reason, I don't recall.
Now, are we talking about cane on the hand or on the arse?
Yeah, on the arse.
Fuck, so yeah, because that would have been illegal by the time I came.
And I said, fuck right off.
As you would.
Yeah, and I did. And I don't know what he said, and I said, listen, you fat, loads of awful words here. And I just weren't having none of it. And he's trying to grab hold of me and pull my trousers and pants down and cane me.
Oh, for fuck's sake. So this is, let's, because a lot of people won't even know that this sort of shit went on. You know what I mean? Some people will have experienced it, but my school, by the time I hit my school, I went to Harold Hill, fucking hell, what was it fucking called? Harrow Lodge.
Harrow Lodge?
Yeah, which was like islands and...
I know exactly where you mean, and I even knew, I went out with a girl who went there, and I can't remember the bloke's name who was the head teacher of it at the time, but...
if I can even, yeah? That's fucking like 3 lifetimes ago, mate.
I know, and the pub opposite was Harrow Lodge. It was a public house directly opposite Harrow Lodge School, and it was a big kind of road, if you like, 100-metre long road with houses either side.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was a massive, gargantuan children's home.
Oh, right, yeah, fuck.
Yeah, and immediately opposite, and then it was next door to the Hall Church swim baths, and immediately opposite was a pub called the Harrow Lodge public house.
Yeah.
And,
what's the bloody point that I was making there?
The point was that...
the fucking treatment at schools, when I went to this fucking school, by then, corporal punishment had supposedly been outlawed in schools. Schools are no longer allowed to use corporal punishment. But the way fucking Harrow Lodge got round that was that they sent out a letter to the fucking parent saying that in order to maintain discipline in school, the school asks for you to refuse corporal punishment if you want. Yeah, so my mate Uncle Freshy's on. This is a good man. He's just started campaigning against paedophilia. He's just started a website for victims of paedophilia. He lives up north. He's just popped into the chat box. So, yeah, Freshy, Uda man, Uda daddy. So and essentially by doing this, by having this disclaimer, they basically perpetrated much the same shit as in Harrow Lodge. It wasn't the cane; it was the slipper and a fucking hockey bat in one case, a hockey stick. Yeah, in the same way, if it weren't fucking bare buttocks, it was certainly, trousers down. And it was kind of known, we had like sort of about 3 nonces as teachers. One of them got kicked out for getting too fucking leery with it, and another 2 just kind of got accepted.
Well, one of them...
And that was like grooming kids in the fucking class, and it's not till you fucking grow up and realise what the fuck these fuckers were doing.
Yeah. Well, that Harrow Lodge, Peter, his first name was. I don't recall his second name at the moment, but I actually went out with a girl later on in life, after I got away from all this nonsense, who lived in Harold Hill in Park Drive Hornchurch, which is just down the road from there, past the bus garage. And I can't remember this bloke's bloody name. And
this is like a free lifetime ago to me. It really is.
Yeah. Well, he was a teacher there. And when I met my second wife, I was in a pub in East London, and this bloke come in, and I immediately recognised him, and he had a young boy with him. He was a JP. I can't fucking remember his name. It was so long ago, like I'm 54, like would have been 26, so, you know.
Again,
20
lifetimes ago.
Yeah, and, I can't remember his name, but anyway, get back to my story, like, I mean, this problem is fucking rife throughout this, social services, care system and...
Oh yeah, because you went for this. What do they call it? Review this.
Fit persons order.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, no, I ended up in this place, Red Hill Philanthropic Centre in Surrey.
Yeah. Oh, you went from there to this assessment, didn't you?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, that was at that, or was that at the Red Hill place?
That is it, yeah. The Red Hill Philanthropic Society.
If that don't put chills down your spine, that fucking smacks of workhouse to me.
Yeah, I mean, philanthropic to do with the natural interests of mankind. I mean, I went there was, I don't know, 500 kids there. It was bollocks. It was like, turned up there, we was in a big dormitory kind of thing. And I got pally with two brothers, and the reason why they were there was because they got home from school a couple of days previous, and their parents weren't there, and they hadn't seen them, and so they was taken into care and put in the same place as I was, and I come up with the idea that we should escape. And so, me having a watch, I said, right, 3 o'clock in the morning, I reckon that'd be the right time to do it. Like, we can, like, crack that window open.
Been watching all those war movies, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I don't know at that point. I've always been very mechanically and electrically minded. And I looked at the window mechanism that would only open about 6 inches. And I realised that if you put the weight on it, the weight would clearly break the metal, and I did it by myself ultimately, because when it come to time to go, I had a chat with them, and it quite sad actually. Come boys, time to go, like, you know, and that's when they actually told me,
got nowhere to go.
We got nowhere to go, and I said, sorry, I said, I said, that's all right. My mum will look after us. And they said no. And I said, well, fuck you, I'm off. I'm not having this. So I got on the window, swung on it, bent it, got out. And I was out all fucking night. Didn't know where I was going or whatever. Got covered in cow shit and God knows what.
It's a bloody long way from home to be for a 11-year-old kid without a map.
Didn't realise and all that, like I was fueled with a hot flush of youth or whatever, I suppose. Don't know, and I ended up jumping back through the window because it was warm in there, and it was about 7 o'clock-ish, and I crawled back into bed. No one had realised I'd gone. And then we woke up for breakfast and went through the whole malarkey of, like, you know, you got to fold your fucking kit up, fold the bed up, and you know, go to ablutions and go to this
regimented day.
Yeah, totally regimented.
2 o'clock.
Yeah, and like, you know, I was fucking hell, what is going on here? And I think at that point in my life, I realised I was kind of on my own. Like, everyone around me are also victims. I never realised that at the time, but the way I looked at it, I suppose, was like, fucking hell.
One of the fucking kids.
What is going on here?
One of the kids' phones going on. Carry on, Ed.
Yeah, and so I kind of got on with that. I was there for a couple of weeks, done all sorts of strange, weird fucking tests and things you had to write, kind of like at school, but it was kind of mental assessments and stuff. Oddly enough, I clearly recall being taken from a junior school. It was a junior school. I was at Richard Alabin Junior School, and Mum said, "Well, you're not going to school today or tomorrow, son. Like, you know, we're going to get picked up and we're going somewhere to some place." And so, which I thought was odd, exciting, whatever. And anyway, this bloke turned up in the car. No one had a car, you know. And we went out. I don't even know where it was, but it was like in the country, like a big house. And this big house kind of looked like a big, lovely country house. But there was no animals there or nothing. And when we went through the front door, it was more like an hospital. And I was given all these kind of strange tests, and it was a hospital. If I can describe...
Right, so what sort of strange tests? Let's just stop you there, Eddie. What sort of strange tests? What sort of psychometric tests?
Yeah, it was like, if you can imagine...
So like sort of IQ tests and ink blot tests and...
Yeah, I recall the ink block tests. There was a picture of a horse that I discovered. But more interestingly was kind of this chap in the classroom. And now, bearing in mind, the children in this classroom were aged from 6 or 7 to about 15 years of age. And he had a kind of a clipboard thing, and on one side of it there was a lever. And then, say, at the top of the clipboard, there was another lever that, as he pushed the lever, that he could had access to. You know, the lever moved from left to right, so that you could see kind of something happening. So he'd move this lever up and down, and then you see the lever move on the top of the clipboard from left to right. And I was asked to draw the mechanics of it, which is like quite simple at that age. And it got to the point where it's like kind of like 5 levers on the top moving in total synchronicity, 3 levers to the left moving in half the speed of the ones at the top, and 4 on the bottom. It was so fucking mind-boggling. It was unbelievable.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I know. And then there was... I know, yeah, fucking...
I mean, I've been through all sorts of psychometric testing, you know what I mean? I've been under all sorts of shrinks and under all sorts of psychologists, and I ain't never had that sort of shit pulled on me.
Mm.
Weird.
Yeah, there was a card, like a business card kind of thing that was... I did talk to Mum about it a number of years later, and she said to me, "Yeah, I've got that card." And anyway, she gave it to me, and I phoned it up, and it's some place in London, I think in Goodge Street. I haven't got the card now, but they're sussing out kids with extra fucking special fucking whatever.
Oh mate, you don't want to know how this dials into my research. If anybody wants to go way down that rabbit hole, go to my YouTube channel, freemanjack at freemanjack TPUCFM, all one word, freemanjack TPUCFM, and hit on the Monarch Cult YouTube there. There's 6 hours there on that particular little horrid little rabbit hole, but I suspect that's probably what was going on there. They're mining for Illuminates, for kind of switched on heads.
Yeah, and
it's kind of like it's a resultant effect of certain forms of paedophilia, certain forms of abuse tend to like switch on people's heads early.
Well, I weren't having no part of it, and I like to think I'm a righteous kind of bloke.
Yeah,
and I thought it was so fucking weird that I had this thing put on my head with gel, like a...
Oh, yeah, an EEG.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where it like reads your brain waves, in effect.
That's right. And also a strobe light.
Yeah, that's testing for epilepsy. I've had that myself.
Yeah. And,
many times.
There was also a point where there was all these different coloured building bricks or blocks with all strange shapes and colours and sizes that I was asked to fit in the right holes, and the colours not necessarily represented the shape of the hole that it had to fit into, and I just picked a brick up and looked at the shape of it, looked at the holes, notwithstanding the colour.
Colour, yeah.
And I just done it straight away. Like I thought, what the fuck's all this about? Anyway, when they put that thing on my head and a strobe light, and I thought, oh fuck it, I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
I've had enough of this bollocks. Mum, come. I want to go now. Like I've had enough. Like, I was hungry. I was done my fucking head in, like, you know. And we went home, and God, I can't remember what happened after that. I think that was when I went to approved school, sorry, that was before I went to the approved school. That was in between children's home and approved school.
Okay, so what do you reckon? This place was what recommended that you went to approved school?
Don't know, no idea. I was under this fit person's order for stealing yearly rubber bicycle.
But so there's still nothing other than your kind of rebelliousness at school. That's nothing criminal.
No,
right.
No. Okay. I was just like...
Sorry, I'm not doubting you, Eddie. All I'm doing is actually reinforcing that fucking point, because this is what I see. Yeah, and this is... and again, I spoke to you off air as well about this being my agenda. Yeah, and this is why I want Karl. I don't know if we got Karl online. I'm not even looking at fucking Skype, but I really should have it up.
I mean, the way I see it is that I was like a bit of a clued up cookie. Not as clued up as a lot of people, but... I regarded myself a number of years ago as, well, I must have been a bit of a clued up cookie for them to take interest in me. But, I mean, I was shoved into this fucking approved school place called Danesbury in Hertfordshire. And it was kind of a lovely place, you know, and there was loads and loads of kids there. And they all had their issues, and I couldn't really communicate with them all, I suppose. Well, I could, I did. I mean, I had blokes, like young lads, like from the age of, I don't know, 11, 12, come and stay with me, who also come from problem families. That, fuck me, all the stories they told me was totally unbelievable. I mean, my story's quite strange, I suppose, but I'd never have the old bollocks that people give me, the masters, the teachers, the fucking doctors, and I'd always question them. And I was around about 13 in the approved school, and I come home, same kind of thing every 4th or 5th week, and summer holidays, and depending on how well you did, on how many marks you got, depending on how much time you had home with your loved ones and stuff. And I remember this...
So basically teaching you compliance.
Yeah.
So the more compliant you were with their rules and instructions, the more time you'd get to see your real mum and dad. Fucked up.
Yeah, which was hardly...
fucking... You know what I mean? If people really knew that these sort of systems were in place to deal with children of such little harm, and at so little harm. I mean, this is the thing, is that the social services and the care home systems are essentially seen by the general public as this huge safety net collecting the fallout children from society and making sure that they don't come to harm, when you and I both know that it's almost fucking diametrically opposite to that these fucked up places appear to be what's generating most of the fucking harm in society.
Yeah, totally agree with me. Couldn't agree with you more, but...
Okay, so you end up at this place in, where was it, Berkshire?
No, Hertfordshire.
Hertfordshire, sorry, yeah. Oh, fucking hell, so right over in Wales, Jesus, or near Wales.
No, not Herefordshire.
Oh, fucking hell, Hertfordshire, where's that?
Hertfordshire. It's about 30 miles away from...
London. Yeah, so it's just north of Berkshire, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah, well, it's around there, Midlands, south of the Midlands, for fuck's sake.
No, it's 30 miles away from Dagenham. Or 30 miles, literally 30 miles. Hartford.
Okay, I'm no geography professor. Get on with the fucking story. Fuck's sake.
Oh, sorry.
Making me look an idiot on my own fucking show.
No.
I'm going to go on Google Earth now and go to check it up so I can come back and look like a smart ass.
What? Bengeo, Bengeo. It was the town centre of Hartford. Or still is. Still is Bengeo, Hartford.
Okay.
And it's near Stevenage. I only know that because my uncle Bill, who come and picked me up a couple of times, and I spent the weekend with him rather than going with mum, like, you know. But Bainsbury Approved School was kind of a lovely place. It was like a big old-fashioned fucking big great house, and he had the matron there, and again the medication, which I kind of played along with, but I always spat out, like, and a lot of the other kids had the medication and stuff, and that was when there's been a number of very, very strange occurrences, and it wasn't until earlier on this evening, Jack, that I had fucking cold shivers running through my body, like, and like my ears were standing on end and all that, and I think, what the fuck? And it's really weird that you actually opened up a couple of memories that I'd never ever thought about until I spoke to you earlier, and I was kind of flooding through.
I guess it's a sort of association, isn't it? If you haven't necessarily joined up all the dots, if you haven't necessarily made sense of what's happened to you just through memory alone, then, you know what I mean, perhaps having somebody like me who's studied this subject. I mean, I've literally studied this subject for about 30 years, mate, after losing my mate at school when I was about 14, who topped himself under really suspicious circumstances, and then my first best mate out of school had been abused by his brother, and his brother had been abused and was involved in the snuff film industry. Yeah. It was all really fucked up, and it just carried on from there. So by the time I sort of just turned in my mid-20s, I started researching into this big time, and I ask anybody straight, frank fucking questions. I've quizzed every single fucking variety of sexual orientation, and with questions usually so frank that most people would blush, but for some reason, I think because of my frank sincerity and openness about the subject, my lack of any kind of preconceptions, that people have been prepared to open up to me, and I don't know, and that has enabled me, I suppose, to assemble a clearer picture of what the fuck's going on here. And I suppose having been through it a bit myself, not to any degree like you yourself has, but that school of mine, I mean, I don't know if you know, but that school, when it became comprehensive, did away with its exclusion policy. Nobody was ever expelled or excluded from our lodge. No. So it didn't matter what you did. We had fucking teachers being had up against walls, we had fights breaking out, we had police riot vans turning up at the school to quell outbreaks all over the place. It was a madhouse.
Yeah, I know, and I also, like I said earlier, I went out with a girl, Sylvia, who had a couple of brothers. Like the whole family were kind of tied up there. For whatever reason. And
those kind of families tended to run the school as well, because there was loads of them. They always got that in them sort of manners.
Fucking shocking, to say the least. But this Bainsbury, the approved school that I went to, I mean, they kind of left me alone, probably because of the way I used to question their authority and stuff, and I had some lovely times there, but also had some fucking nasty ones, like witnessing things that had happened, and at the time, just thought, well, get away from this, don't like this, what's going on, like a master or a teacher bashing the fuck out of a young boy. He's trying to tell the master something, I can't work out what he's trying to say, and the master's proper fucking laying into him. And one particular name, that springs to mind from the conversation earlier was Victor Shembry. He was all right kind of lad, my kind of age, and he got the granny fucking bashed out of him, and he got fucked off. I don't know where he went to, but he got beaten to a pulp, and I saw it.
Who by?
Staff?
Staff,
yeah.
High-ranking staff, or just kind of the
no,
soldiers?
Normal run-of-the-mill staff who I thought who was okay at the time, but after I see him do that, I obviously scrutinised his behaviour and stuff, and didn't think it was right, and fucking hell, I just thought something else that's really strange. Don't know. I don't think I should say it actually.
Well, I'll tell you what. Look, I'll tell you what, Eddie. I'm going to try and keep Karl waiting on a bit longer, because I think we need another probably half hour, 3/4 of an hour for you to get to the bottom of your story here. I'm going to whack a tune on to give you a while to consider sort of where you want to take this next, because this is just busting my bollocks, mate. This is incredible. Yeah. I mean, I can't believe. I mean, I knew that this sort of shit was happening, but talking to you and hearing somebody who actually went through it, you know what I mean? I saw kids at school who were going probably through the same care homes as you was, and coming in their scruffy clothes and their, you know what I mean, unkempt, not looked after, you know what I mean?
Stinking.
Well, yeah, that
through no fault of their own.
Yeah, and the worst thing is now, having dealt with some of the people, I now know why they were stinking as well, and that's even more horrible to fucking think about. But anyway, guys, I think this is a really appropriate tune. This is massive. This is what I stuck on when we thought it was your mum on the phone. This is Massive Attack and Protection.
Okay.
Just an entirely appropriate tune.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back on air with Eddie Goldtooth, and also PC Karl Know-How. Karl, PC Know-How, let me get that the right way around. You've been waiting in the wings since the start of the show, pretty much, haven't you, Karl?
Bless him.
Yeah, well, Karl from Canada, as the rest know me.
Okay, all right.
Jack, don't you?
Huh?
You keep forgetting that.
You expect me to remember shit with the amount I
spent? I know.
My short-term memory is shot to shit, and it has been for the last 35 years, but that's an entirely different subject. Okay, just in case people
thanks for bringing me back on again anyway, I appreciate it.
No, of course, you're absolutely welcome. Just in case people don't know, you're a one-time Manchester copper, and that's why we're keeping you waiting in the wings, because we'd like to kind of bring you in on the topic once Eddie has finished his sort of life story.
No, I appreciate it.
And specifically because in your experience as a Manchester copper, you had a lot of dealings with the children from these sort of the care home system that Eddie's describing here.
Yeah, the area that I worked in was certainly the class of area where, one, it was the poorer end of the scale, and they certainly had a couple of care homes on the division that I worked, so yeah, I had a bit of experience of both.
Okay, all right. Well, if we can let Eddie get back on with his story, if you'd like to mute out for me again, and I'll bring you in after Eddie's finished, and we'll probably just play one last tune, so that we can discuss how we're going to bring you to air.
Certainly will. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Karl. All right, Eddie. Okay, we were in Hertfordshire.
Bengio. Yeah, the approved school called Danesbury, which was the fit person's order malarkey.
Yeah.
Fucking shocking, to say the least. I mean...
Oh, yeah, and you'd seen this boy beaten by the staff and then vanished from sight.
Yeah, and I had a couple of friends there who used to come home, and every fourth or fifth week I was allowed home for a kind of weekend, and some of the lads I was to bring them home with me, and you know, top and tail, whatever.
So your family home was obviously a real place of risk for children to be to be going to, wasn't it? As evidenced by their allowing for children from the home to visit you at your home.
Yeah, I mean, because I wasn't aware of it at the time, at such a young age, I clearly didn't know what the fuck was going on. Like, I mean, I've gone through the system, and a lot of the people were. A lot of the young boys, and they're all boys, no girls, were, in my opinion, fucking idiots. Like, but upon reflection of that, I don't know how, to what degree they were harmed or whatever. I mean, I also recall another chap who I used to love having chats with, and his name was John Fisher, and he was in the approved school. He was into space. He knew everything about space, and everyone used to think he was weird, but I thought he was such a clever lad. All these planets and the constellation he knew all about, and I actually learnt a lot from him. And that's one name, oddly enough, that I've recalled since I spoke to you earlier on the chat thing.
Okay.
Fucking weird, to say the least.
Well, again, no. This is another issue with any sort of a traumatic childhood, whether that includes or doesn't include sexual abuse. Is that if the circumstances that you're growing up in have become traumatic, you know what I mean, emotionally overwhelming, should we clarify that, then any child is going to enter into kind of altered states, into fantasy worlds, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Invisible.
I don't know, I mean, it clearly wasn't for me. Like, for fuck's sake, I nicked a gear lever off a bike.
So in your case, the fantasy world was their bloody world, and quite patently so.
Bang! I've been grabbed by this obese woman, and the police were called. I've gone to court, and yada yada yada. For fuck's sake, but my childhood has been fucked up now because of what?
Stolen from you for a stolen gear lever.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So how did your treatment go at this place in Hertfordshire then?
It was okay. I mean,
you said you'd been being caned all the way through the previous place.
Yeah. The caning, the what do you call that word for it? Not capital punishment. Corporal punishment had stopped at that point.
Right. Okay.
And it was more of a case of like you.
But you still had this fucking thing in place where you had to behave yourself, or you wouldn't get to see your folks, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So it had gone over more from like sort of physical control to almost like psychological.
Yeah. Actually, you got it there bang on. Psychological control.
Yeah.
I mean, I was interested in everything. I mean, as a young lad, I needed input, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure like most kids do, like when they get to the age of, I don't know, fucking puberty, don't know what you call it. But you need that. There is a yearning for knowledge. You need to know things, and like
you've got questions about the world.
Yeah, and I asked those questions, and no one could fucking answer me.
Yeah, me too.
Like, why the fuck am I here? Why is this? Why is that? Yeah, but why? Explain it to me. I'm not stupid.
Tell me why.
Yeah, it's quite simple.
That was the question that you weren't ever allowed to ask, was it?
Yeah, but I did. And I got in lots of trouble asking all sorts of questions.
Yeah.
And I kind of realised when I was in that environment that it wasn't good to ask questions because, there you go. And because I was kind of physically and as well as mentally endowed, I took up judo and fucking all sorts of sports like like the rings, you know, the rings and things in the gym. They had that stuff there. No one knew how to use
they're
it.
a killer and all.
Yeah,
you got to be seriously hench to do fucking parallel rings, or whatever they're called, isometric rings, isn't it, wasn't it?
Yeah,
no, I don't know, wherever they are. Yeah, I know the things that you mean.
Yeah,
they're a killer, pecs and all that, isn't it?
Yeah, the pommel horse and the fucking hell. I even did the pole vault. And I excelled in most athletic activities there because I was naturally blessed with strength and stuff.
Yeah. So did that give you a bit of an out then? Did that give you a bit of grease to fucking to lubricate the fucking wheels? So you managed to duck out of shit. Basically, you excelled as an escape from punishment, because that's certainly something that I saw a lot in our school, in the schools that I went to. Was that the athletes would often be the ones who'd worked out that they could get out of being beaten for being good on the sports field and making the school look good.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, but I totally agree with you. I was that chap.
I was mistreated all the way through my school life by my gym masters, my PE teachers, whatever. Yeah, because I would never have any part in competitive games. Right, Jake. Only to then become like the gym master's favourite fucking blue-eyed boy when he discovered that I could run like the fucking wind.
Yeah, well, that is exactly what happened to me. And I excelled in all these athletic activities.
Well, that was it. I was completely excluded. I was completely allowed off of any competitive games. I was put under the opposition's fucking net in basketball. I was put in the opposition's goalmouth in football. You know what I mean? Completely offside, but it didn't offside didn't actually count to Jack. Jack was outside of the offside ruling. As long as he stood there and was able to participate somehow in a game, then that was a victory on his part. But as long as he put me on a track with lines on it, he knew that I went like a fucking whippet, so I got away with it. Yeah. But again, that was my cop out. You know what I mean? Once I knew that I could show him that was me. I was out of sports completely. I did my thing. I used to run naturally anyway. I used to run every fucking where.
Yeah. Was that short distance or long?
I used to do half marathon most of the time, but sort of 400 metre.
Yeah. Well, that's not half marathon, is it? 400 metres.
Yeah, no. 400 metre sprint and 12 mile kind of regular trots.
Yeah. Oh, right, yeah, okay, fair enough, yeah. I held all school records. In fact, I've got a fucking a big portfolio or folder, whatever you call it, of all the school records and everything I've done all this stuff.
All right, so what happened after this gaff then?
I left the approved school. I was 14, just a couple of days before my 15th birthday, because oddly enough, that was when
you were 14 just a couple of days before your 15th birthday. No, that's a fucking trick.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Before I left school.
Yeah, no, I'm fucking about. Sorry.
Yeah.
Everyone's 14 a couple of days before their 15th birthday anyway. They're actually 14 up until the day before.
But mine was the 1st of June, and on the 31st of May, the school leaving age went up. If your birthday falls after the 31st of May, you're going to stay on for another year.
Yeah.
But because I was really, really interested in electricity and as such, my head teacher, Mr. Easter, I could tell you stories about him. He was married. He was all right. The head teacher was a lovely, lovely bloke, Gary Easter. His name was, and I've got to tell you this. I was about 13 years of age and fueled with a hot flush of youth, as you are. and we went on this mission to, it was a kind of, what do you call it, a project that, it was on the River Storts in Bishop Stortford, which wasn't too far away, and we got on the old, like, minibus and that, like, and there was this burnt-out boat thing, and because I was interested in electricity and stuff, it was my job to ascertain how much money or what kind of work was involved to like rebuild this ship, because it had been burnt out. I mean, like a burnt out boat at sea. I had a fucking a boat be burnt out, but anyway, it was, and it was in kind of dry dock off the River Stall, and he was there, and he was also there with his wife, who was lovely, and she had a short skirt on, as I'm sure you can imagine. And I'm standing below decks, and the governor, like you know, head teacher Gary Easter, was above deck with his wife, and where she's straddling these two fucking boards, a couple of which in between were burnt out, and I'm below decks, apparently checking out the light situation. I've looked up, and what I saw was clearly delightful, and I said, "God, sir, I'd like to fuck your wife." And he said, "Correctly, what did you say?" I said, "Sir, I think the lights are all right." and you know, to this day, he does not know what I said. And you know, that tickles me when I think of it, because she was a babe, but clearly too old for me. But you know, just proves that I was a normal kind of young lad with a hot flush of youth within me. I suppose, I imagine. But we had some good times there at Danesbury. Some lovely times. We even went to the bloody local fucking sewage plant place where millions of tomato plants growing.
Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't believe why they was growing. And like no one could answer me the question, why the fuck are tomato plants growing in this? Well, tomato seeds go straight way through you and they come out. And I got chatting to a couple of workers there who actually looked after these tomato plants and like pushed them to one side and like grew them and let nature take its course, and the tomato plants grew and they watered them and etc. And they actually gave me some tomatoes, which I thought was quite strange, like lovely.
There's some tomatoes that have been grown in here and shit.
These sewage plant blokes answered my questions. I was asking them questions, and they answered me. Yeah. All the other fuckers couldn't. Yeah. You know, the governor, the teacher, the masters. They couldn't. But
I always used to get told that's A-level Rogers. A number of times I got told that. I'd ask a question in class, and because in our school we didn't get taught A-level, we didn't even get taught the GCSE the GCE syllabus. We got taught the CSE standard, and only found out that we were only being taught the CSE standard when we came to set our O-levels and found we hadn't been taught the fucking syllabus.
Oh. Shocking, to say the least.
So A-level was out the question, so it was almost A-level was telling us that was an that was an A-level question. It was like, you know what I mean, don't trifle yourself with that, you're never going to need to know that. We ain't teaching you any of that shit. But anyway, sorry, carry on. Yeah, well, so basically you got out the kind of reform school by being a smart ass when it came to electronics.
Yeah, I left the approved school a couple of days, like I said, before my 15th birthday, and got a job in a All-Lake record factory because the governor of the school said to me, he said, look, we have to provide you with education until you're 16. We've not got a syllabus or curriculum set up to do that. So I know you're interested in electrics and stuff, so I've arranged with your mum for you to go to Havering Technical College to have a chat about
the lofty educational halls of Havering Technical College.
Yeah.
And its demountable outbuildings. Know it well. I can almost smell it.
Yeah, I have such fond and precious memories of those buildings, especially the bicycle sheds.
I remember being carried in to an exam from the refectory, being too crated to actually manage to get there under my own locomotion.
Fucking hell. I saw Status Quo there, you know. It cost me 50p to get in, and the record there...
You were robbed.
It cost me 50p. Paid plain. Yeah. And the band before them was Mahavishnu.
Oh, the Mahavishnu Orchestra. Fucking hell, man.
Yeah, they were backup.
Oh, what? John McLaughlin?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Oh, fucking Stingray Moore's going to be fucking well gutted with that. 50p to see John McLaughlin. No, you weren't robbed for that.
No.
But the Boys in Blue, no, you can't. I'm sorry, you can't even go there. That's not music.
Anyway, it was a lovely experience, and I eventually started...
So where were you living while you were going to Havering Tech?
Round Mum's.
Oh, right, okay, so you're back with your mums now. So essentially, from the reform school, I mean, that would have been boarding school, yeah? So you're just visiting your mum, so now you've moved to Havering Tech and you're back living with your mum, so now this fucking court order thing hanging over your head's now out of the way.
No, it's still there.
Fucking hell.
It's still in place. I was 16 at the time.
So what are they doing? Anything to sort of check your placement back with your parents? Is there any kind of controls?
Yeah, there used to be.
So so is this still down to your behaviour? You've got to behave yourself, or we'll take you away again.
Yeah.
So there's still this sword of Damocles hanging over your head the whole time, and you've still done nothing more than gobby to a few teachers and steal a fucking gear lever off a push bike.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
At the age of 9, yeah.
Yeah.
And so
again, there, like I say, I'm not doubting you. I'm just trying to reinforce that point. Especially, I know somebody's just said that they missed out on the first couple of half an hour or so.
Yeah. So now I'm like 16 years of age, passed with flying colours, City and Guilds in electronics, and radio mechanics part 1.
Blimey.
I just turned 16, I think it was in 1972. I ain't got me fucking, like, credentials out the cupboard, like, or nothing.
Again, it's a lifetime ago. You're excused there, Eddie. I haven't got any of my fucking credentials from college either.
Why, thank you.
Apart from the credential of having managed to get a DAF 44 up to 46 miles an hour in reverse across Havering Technical Car Park. Havering Technical College Car Park.
That was an automatic one, wasn't it?
Yeah, and because it was a Variomatic, it had a dog, so it would go as fast in reverse as it would go forward. But the only problem with that is that the steering geometry is set for going forward, not for going backwards.
Yes.
So at 46 miles an hour, it became hideously unstable. I bottled out and braked, but fortunately I didn't roll it. But I think 46 miles an hour, I'd like to see anybody on TNS chat claim to have been faster in reverse in any vehicle. There's a few Jags that you can do it in, but again, they get very hairy, anything above about 40 in reverse. But anyway.
We digress. I was, bloody hell, 16. Yeah, because I got my first qualifications and stuff like, and I got a job, and I started to go about my business in a normal fashion.
So things are starting to sort of return to normal, although the state's still keeping a beady eye on you. Things have started to return to some semblance of normality and success. And
all my childhood fucking bollocks, I can't think of a better word to describe it.
No, fuck it.
Like all the wires on my head and the funny strange boxes and fucking colours and shapes and this and that, and like getting caned by Mr. Kerrigan.
All the making out like you were wrong.
Yeah.
The constant reinforcement of your wrongness.
It was total bollocks, though. I wasn't wrong at all. I was like 100% right, and I would question authority. I was going to tell you, when I was at Danesbury, come home for the weekend, I went to Romford Market, and there was this hippie kind of fucking shop that sold hippie clothes, like flares and there was a
Afghans
T-shirt
and that.
Yeah, that's it, Afghan. I had an Afghan as well. Yeah, it was great. It fucking stunk. My mum hated it. Yeah, she fucking hated it.
Lovely. No, my mum hated mine as well. Go on. Back to the story.
Patchouli oil.
Yeah. Trying to cover the stink up.
That's it. Yeah. And anyway, in this particular shop, Angel Easy it was called, and I was looking through the old, the rails as you do, and I saw this T-shirt and it said, "Mr. Goodbar says, go fuck yourself." And I thought, that is quite a profound statement. Go fuck yourself. And I never had enough money to buy it. And I do confess, I stole it. And I wore it with pride. And it was a statement from me. Go fuck yourself. Like, I've had enough. At that point in my life, I was like 13 years of age. I've been fucked. My head's been fucked with, and what is going on here? All I want to do is be normal. Is no one normal around me? What the fuck is going on? And actually, I missed out a couple of points about places when I was in Danesbury Approved School that I was taken to. One of them was Elton John, who lived in Cheshunt. That apparently Guy Norris, that's his name, the physical education instructor, who seemed like a nice fella and all that. I don't know, I think he might be related to him. He kind of looks like him, might be his brother or something. And he used to borrow films and that, and he used to go there, and I don't know, I was...
Well, Elton John's real name's Dwight something or other, isn't it? Dwight. Somebody will stick it up in the chat box. But anyway, it ain't that.
Fuck knows, don't know. But all these strange places we used to go and visit and that, right? And I was always like, oh yeah, what's going on here? Oh, what's that about? Who are you? What's that? What's this? Right, quite strange. I was never really involved in the things that really went on, I suppose. I don't know, but I've kind of ruled it out of my life because it never involved me at the time. I don't know, but upon reflection, now I'm a fully grown man, I can see not so much the implications, but
Yeah, you can see what was probably going on. Sorry, you were saying there. So you'd been took to Elton John's house, but you weren't aware of any sort of underhand goings on at the time. But on reflection, you think that there may have been more to more than met the eye.
Yeah.
Apparently, Elton John's proper name is Reginald Dwight.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and I don't know, she's fucking weird, like, I mean, I got out of that place, got into college, totally, thoroughly enjoyed it, passed with flying colours, wanted to forget all that had happened up until that point, put it behind me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I did, and I kind of started working and stuff as an electronics engineer with a company in Barking. And then, bleeding hell, how old was I? Why did I get my gold tooth? It was my 18th birthday when I got refused at the pub for service because, I don't know, this was the time when they had big shutters on the bar, you know, they'd like pull the shutter down. That's it, no more orders.
Oh, yeah.
And had a bit of an argument and stuff, whatever, and had a bit of a tear up and fucking got my lights punched out. Because the barman knew the bloke, it was his friend, like, who got served before me, who jumped in the queue kind of thing and stuff like that. And I went back later and I was going to throw a petrol bomb through the window of the pub, but I thought, well, there's people in there that day, right, so I set a light to his car instead. And I had gloves on and stuff. Stupid thing, I shouldn't have done it, but...
Okay, but hold on. Let's just examine that a little bit. Yeah. Okay, you understand it was the wrong thing to do at the time, but now looking back on that, do you think that perhaps the rage that maybe you felt at that huge insult at the bar was perhaps disproportionate and misplaced rage from your previous treatment? Do you think that was your naturally innate sort of anger boiling to the surface, perhaps through a little tipple of alcohol on top? Too much.
Totally. Couldn't agree further. I mean, like, what I had gone through, my adolescent years, if you like, was total fucking control and everything else. You got to do this and you got to do that, and like, for fuck's sake. I mean, even when it come down to laundry change, in a prep school, you had to like get all your clothes, like 3 pairs of underpants, 3 vests, and 2 shirts, and like a jumper, and show them to the fucking teacher, master, and like, what the fuck is all this about? Why can't I just chuck them in the fucking thing and you sort it out? Like, you know, so degrading, embarrassing, and everything about going through the system is like bollocks. So I'm kind of growing up with like a fucking attitude, if you like.
Chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And rightly so,
yeah,
to some degree, you know what I mean? That a child should have to go through that and also be magnanimous and understanding about it. I think it's probably a bit much to expect, really, of anybody.
Yeah, so I've kind of got away with it, not realising that the chips are fucking severely hanging out.
Yeah.
And you know...
Hold on, so what sort of age would you be in now? Sort of mid-20s? Early 20s?
When?
When you had this fight?
18.
18, alright. So you're sort of starting to find violence kind of bubbling up to the surface and you ain't able to control it.
And like wanting an outlet for it. And I've always been good at that kind of thing. Like,
well, you'll find plenty of that in Barking, in the pubs around Barking, wouldn't you?
Well, don't know.
I used to pull shark all the pubs off the back of Ritwell Road with my brother when he was alive.
Not the Westbury.
Oh, fuck, know any of their fucking names now. All the real old dives around the back of the industrial estates. We used to go around as a double act. Yeah, and we used to scam people in, making out we was really drunk and stoned, like smoking big fat fucking stinky joints all the time, and like fucking lounging around and making duff shots and that until they got on the table, then curl them in with a couple of iffy games, and then put some money out on the table and then slaughter them.
Oh, you shark, you. How dare you?
Well, the thing was, we was like fucking twins. We knew each other's game. Neither of us was particularly good players, but we knew each other's game so well that we could read it, you know what I mean? And so it was like playing a double. We'd always play doubles. So it was like 2, there'd always be one worse one. out of the doubles. Yeah, so you know the two of you just angle on that one weak player and just win every fucking time.
Yeah,
easy.
Well, the
free beer
strangest thing, yeah. Well,
we always made it entertaining for them. They didn't mind getting sharped.
Yeah. What's that film I'm thinking of? White Man Can't Jump.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
I was thinking more Cool Hand Luke myself, but...
Yeah. Fucking hell. Yeah, now you're talking. Yeah.
Never eat another pickled egg again.
Yeah, well look, from there, I went to Bogstal.
Yeah.
And...
Alright, so how did you end up in Bogstal?
Because I set a light to the governor's car. It was a Mark II.
Hold on, which governor?
The governor of the Cherry Tree pub in Dagenham, where I got me fucking head kicked in.
Right, okay.
His birthday.
Oh, okay. The Cherry Tree Arms, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, that's on that crossroad, isn't it, where Ali Barber used to live off of?
That's it. That's it.
Ali Barber, God rest his soul, used to transport his wares as a local... As a local dealer in his walking stick with a screw on top, and the old Bill never managed to figure out where he fucking kept them. They always knew that he was dealing, but they never could catch the fucker. Slippery old fucker. He had his bus. He'd already had his RAP bus pass when I met him, and he was still like on the scene on the circuit.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So you've done this governor's car, so that's got you up in front of the Madges, and the Madges seeing your record have gone right fucking Borstal. You obviously ain't reformed your character through all of these.
Crown Court. No, they.
Fuck Crown. Jeez.
Hold on. It was at about that point in my life when I started getting violent and aggressive. I don't know why, because I've always hated a bully and stuff like that, and I still do now. I kind of got into some other shit, like stealing cars and God knows fucking what.
Well, even that, I mean, saying that was pretty much standard fare for a lad growing up around Dagenham. I would have described myself as a pretty moral lad, but I did my fair share of keying up the odd, Ilman Imp or full Cortina that had a wonky lock on it. And it was like fair game, really, wasn't it? I mean, the stealing cars in them days, the cars weren't worth fuck all for a start, you know what I mean? Everyone was skint.
Yeah.
And the old bangers, the sort of old bangers that we could get a wriggly old key to fit in, they're almost like fucking communal motors anyway. That's anywhere around my man. I don't know about yours.
Yeah, but most surprising was the fact that when I went to detention centre in Aldington in Kent, I went to Holesley Bay first in I can't remember where that was now. Ain't that far away from me, about 20 mile away. Holesley Bay, Holiday Bay, whatever they called it. And from there I got transferred to Aldington DC detention centre in Kent. I couldn't believe I started seeing people not from the children's home but also from the approved school.
Mm-hmm.
So these young lads
were all being streamed through the same fucking service.
Yeah, and I thought, for fuck's sake, and to cut a long story short, I ended up in Dartmoor prison.
Fuck.
Oh.
Well, hold on, that's a bit of a fucking long story to cut short. How did you end up from Borstal into fucking... What, is this all now goings on? Because I should imagine if you're now got a violent tendency starting to come out and you're placed into a violent, corrupt fucking caged place like fucking Borstal in with a load of other really fucked up kids. Yeah. Is that kind of how it played out?
Yeah. I mean, you go to these places
fuck over a fucking bicycle gear stick.
Yeah, no. If you go
but this is what we got to extract out of this. Let's fucking keep nailing this point. This is going to go fucking YouTube. This is going to have fucking thousands of people view it eventually. This is going to get fucking heard, alright? People, this is over a fucking bicycle gear stick. This man who, as a boy, stole a bicycle gear stick and had his entire childhood, and now a significant chunk of your adult life, I assume.
Yeah. Well,
taken by the system that created the goddamn problem in the first place.
Well, yeah. So I was nicking cars shortly after I'd done the arson thing on the when it weren't my fault why I had a tear up. Incidentally, I got all the blokes in question afterwards punching their fucking lights out on a one-to-one basis because they was all together at the time. And that's no big thing. What the big thing is that I was the fucking criminal. I mean, like, I was hurt. I was refused to drink. And I was 18. For fuck's sake, like, you know, my 18th birthday, I want to fucking drink. And the bloke jumped in front of me. And it's all gone tits up and everything. And anyway, so I got put on bail for that. But whilst that was going on also, I also got mixed up with a crowd of fellas, one of which was from the approved school, oddly enough. Oh, fucking hell, Kev, I can't think of his surname. Wilson. Yeah, Kev Wilson. He come from Croydon, who was in Danesbury approved school with me, and we started going out fucking about nicking cars. It was so easy, it was great fun, and all that, like, never really done any harm and stuff. But then I got caught, then I got caught by the old bill, and I never offered any resistance or nothing like that. Kind of thing. I did run away a few times, obviously, as you do. Like.
If you can, you do, don't you? I mean, the old adrenaline's pretty high, so it's pretty hard to resist anyway. This is another thing that people remember with these police chases, is that quite often the police chase results from somebody being spotted driving a car that they probably shouldn't be in, but not necessarily driving that car particularly erratically or particularly fast. And then because of the police pursuit, you then force a young, inexperienced driver into driving much faster than they would normally be able to control the vehicle at, and put both the driver and everybody else on the roads at that time at risk. And as a result, I believe that there are actually hundreds of deaths on the roads of Britain as a result. And both you and I speak as reformed car criminals, I suppose we could say, in this respect. And I know damn well that when I was out driving in a nicked car, I was like fucking Mr. Magoo. I was driving like, you know what I mean, absolutely on the fucking speed limit, you know what I mean, sitting squat down in the fucking seat, trying not to, you know what I mean, have too much of me visible, you know what I mean, driving around, you know what I mean, late at night on little fucking empty back streets just because you couldn't afford to drive. The culture was you drive, especially growing up around fucking Dagenham with Fords there. The car culture there was like fucking Detroit, wasn't it?
The Dagenham dustbin,
Yeah, but do you recognise the kind of similarities between the culture of Dagenham and Romford and Hornchurch and that kind of area, and the culture that surrounded the motor plants of Detroit, where basically if
Motor
you didn't,
City.
Yeah, but if you didn't have a car, you weren't. You know what I mean?
You were nothing.
Yeah, if you didn't pull up outside the pub in a Cortina or a Capri, you know what I mean. You might as well just walk out on your own because you weren't going to be going out with a bird.
That's right. Yeah. And that was what it was all about, I suppose.
And so if you're then in that system and don't have the money to be able to afford the insurance, the tax, the MOT, all the legit and the wheels as well, then you're excluded almost completely from that that society.
Well, I mean, the headlines in the newspaper, Steve McQueen chase driver jailed.
What, for you?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, it was good.
Yeah, I've had a few of those. And leave it broadside, lock it up, put the steering lock off and run off with the keys in your pocket. Yeah. That's always good. That slows them down for a bit. I don't know quite what to do about that, or to chase the car, like do something about the car in the road or chase you. We should really be reminiscing like this on there anyway, but as reformed characters... knowing that this was knowing now that this was very, very wrong, the culture that we were both raised within was very much one where this was nothing out of the ordinary. This wouldn't even be seen as necessarily particularly immoral, wouldn't it? Would it?
No.
It's not something that you'd have to talk about in hushed terms, you know what I mean? This is something all your mates know that you was doing.
But the point I'm making here, Jack, is it was a fucking breeding ground.
Yeah.
Like, when you go to these places, these young kids... Initially, who like when I said earlier, their mum and dad never turned up. That they were sent on the same road to ruin, if you like, as me. I stole a fucking gear lever off a bike. They done fuck all. They had the same
treatment.
Contacts.
Yeah,
Treatment. And,
as it goes. Oh, let me just catch you there, Eddie. Somebody was just one of the other TNS hosts, Pond Man, Pondy. Would just like to know a bit more about the goings on that you witnessed at Hollesley Colony.
Hollesley Bay.
Yeah.
No, that was a detention centre in Borstal thing in. I can't fucking think for the life of me where it was, but nothing really happened in Hollesley Bay because what happened was because of my bloody car theft nonsense malarkey.
Yeah.
So I was sent there, and it suddenly come up. I was there for like I don't know a week or so, and I've suddenly got to go to court. So now they've took me to a secure unit. Now these bars on the windows, I couldn't get my head out of. So I grabbed them and bent them open, and put my head out and asked some screw walking by, "Oi, kiss a lot, mate, please." Now he reported me for trying to escape.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
So from there, I was transported immediately from a totally open
secure unit.
Detention centre to a totally fucking secure unit.
Yeah.
And I actually got on all right with them there. There was everyone knew what the fucking script was like. You know, like you're all like been caught out kind of thing. And a lot of the screws there were actually okay. There was a couple of them were fucking arseholes. But I mean, one particular incident when I was in Aldington, DC, and it was in Kent. I just put a fag out the window, and you're not allowed to smoke there. And the screw there, the kitchen fucking chef bloke, Tommy Trinder. You ever heard of Tommy Trinder? Hello?
Sorry, muted out. Yeah, the comedian, the kind of vaudeville comedian.
Yeah, well, he was a big fucking Irishman, like, and this man was a fucking big man. He was like 6'8" or whatever, and he carried a sheath knife. And when he was walking down the corridor, now I'm talking a secure, closed detention centre. He'd walk down there with his sheath knife and that, and he'd like grab hold of you by the throat, smash the wall with his fist, and he would leave indentations on it in the wall. And then he'd pull his knife out, get it up to your throat, and he'd go, "I'll cut your fucking tross, you cunt." Right? Now, me being the kind of bloke I am, I went, "Fuck off, you dopey paddy. Who the fuck do you think I am? I'm in prison. What are you going to do to me?" And that totally shocked this Tommy Trinder. His name was Mr. Trinder.
We got somebody here who reckons they know him.
Oh, Tommy Trinder
Yeah.
from Aldington, DC.
Gary in the chat box says I know Trinder well.
Yeah, well, anyway, right. So what's happened is I've just put the fag out the window, right, and Tommy Trinder's on night duty, and he said, "Greggy, right, okay, get dressed, come with me." And I thought, fuck, I've been caught for smoking. I'm going to go down the block. Then I thought, hang on. He said, get dressed. He didn't say get your kit together. Now, your kit comprises of the bedspread, all your bedding gear, all your personal effects.
Yeah, your wash bag, all that sort of shit.
That's it, yeah, right. So he didn't say that to me. So I've gone, oh, this is fucking odd, like. So I got dressed. And he's come back to the gate. He's opened the dormitory gate. He said, "Come with me." And we've gone on the corridor, past the block, like the section 43 unit, like, past the ablutions, where the kitchen is. And he's opened up the kitchen. And I thought, what the fuck is going on here? I was panicking. He's a big old geezer, like, you know, like if it comes to it, I will grab something and plunge him.
Yeah.
So we sit in the kitchen and he said, "A cup of coffee there, lad. Packet of fags there. Want a fag?" And I thought, yeah, he wants me. I'm thinking he wants me, right, this Tommy Trinder. This fucking nutcase Irishman with a sheath knife. And like... So I'm sitting down.
Well, you're hardly going to be thinking anything good's going to be coming of this, are you?
That's right, yeah. So I lit a fag up, poured myself a coffee, and he said, I suppose you're wondering why you're here, boy. I went, as it happens, Mr. Trinder, I'll do. And he said, there's a bread strike on. I've chosen you to help me to bake the bread for the rest of the detention centre. You all right with that? I went, fantastic. And that's what we did. We baked bread all night, and he was great. Lovely bloke. Fantastic. Fucking unbelievable. I really thought he was going to bang one up my arsehole, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a similar sort of instance with the kind of what was known as the school bully at Arrow Lodge. I kind of got befriended by him, sort of halfway through school.
Hang on. Terry Collins, that was his name. The fucking headmaster, teacher bloke in charge, the nonce case of Arrow Lodge Park was Terry Collins.
Okay. Alright. Can't say I recall that, but that might have been way before my time.
I don't know why I said Peter. But it's Terry Collins.
Again, there, you know, we can't be sure about any of these names. This is all coming from the deep midst of time, isn't it? Right, I'm minded that we've still got Karl hanging on the line to join in this show. So I'm going to if you're up for it, we'll go to 1 o'clock if need be. It's 10 to 12 now. Normally do a 3-hour show. We only come on at 10, so everyone's absolutely on it. Oh yeah, Gary does know. Says he went there years ago. He was the head of the kitchen.
That's right. Yeah.
Just to show your story's being corroborated by our TNS listeners, which is always nice.
Yeah. Right. He was a lovely bloke, that Tommy Trinder, by the way.
Okay. Right.
I can't fault the geezer. Can't fault him. He was a proper fucking Irishman, like, who cooked good food and fed you up, and yeah.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, just to round up your story, would I be right in suggesting that perhaps your record is what came between you and your children as well? Was is it your ex? Managed to use that against you as well later in life, even after you've put all this behind you?
Well, I wouldn't so much suggest my record, but my suspicion record, my sus record.
Yeah.
It's kind of, everyone's got one, I think. Well, I'm pretty sure they have. I mean, I've got to go to this, I've got to fill this form in. I went to fill it in, I went to the police station, I've done it a couple of years ago, and asked them for an application form with a Data Protection Act, yada yada yada, what information they got on me. And they wouldn't give it to me. They said, I've got to fucking do this, do that, and get it online. So I'm bothered since. But yeah, the sus file of I think what it's about, like when you say that my ex-wife had this information and that information, it's not direct.
Just suspicion that you might be capable of doing X, Y, and fucking Z. So there's no actual supportive evidence that they're necessarily using. They're just using some kind of a psychometric analysis again, like a pre-crime report.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
What's a load of bollocks? What is all that about?
Okay. And from there, you've been fighting for years. I mean, you were with Fathers for Justice certainly a couple of years back. Have you gained access to your kids yet?
Yeah, of course I have, yeah.
Okay,
I've not got problems seeing them and all that, right?
I take it they must be growing up now, because you had been active for quite a long time, hadn't you?
Yeah, of course I have. 13, 14, 18 and 19.
Oh, fuck me, pretty much like mine. I've got 14-year-old twins, a 20-year-old and a 21-year-old.
In fact, when I was in the midst of it, I had a first marriage, and she got pregnant on purpose, knowing I'm the cool dude, I suppose, like, will you marry me, love? Well, I've got one knee and all that. And everything went totally fucking wrong and tits up and all that. I was chosen to be the meal ticket and that, I realise now. And on his 16th birthday, I obviously knew where he lived and that, kept tabs on him, and didn't want to get involved with the old bill and stuff, because I'm trying to kind of lead a normal life and stuff like that. And I thought, well, okay, when he's 16, the boy can't, she can't deny me access and all that. So I've gone round and, which I think is the wrong move, gone round there a couple of weeks before his 16th birthday and said, like, you know, I'm going to come and introduce myself, yada, yada, yada. And at this moment in time, I'm remarried. My second wife is pregnant with our first son. She's 8 months pregnant. And I've gone round his house with presents and like cards and stuff, and my mum's house is full of all his family that he's never seen before and all that. We've kind of all arranged it. And I've gone round there and supposed to be there at 8 o'clock. I was there about 7:30 and waited, and when I actually, they turned up about 8:45, and my son said to me, why don't you just fuck off? You've never been involved with me, yada, yada, yada. Don't think you should get involved with me now. And I said, son, that'd take a long time for me to explain to you, right, but I've got a house full of people want to come and see you. And he said, no, fuck off, don't want to know. That's my son, the first one. So I got pissed up, got shit-faced, and never heard from him for a couple of years, and then the Fathers of Justice kicks off. And some bloke was phoning Fathers of Justice asking for my phone number and yada, yada, yada. And he phoned me up when I've been on the telly and all that, like with Trevor McDonald and all the rest of it, all the secret camera bollocks and all that, where they edited all the stuff, made me look like a right cunt. And he phoned me up and he said, hello, is that Eddie? I went, yeah. He said, hello. He said, I want you to prove to me that you're not the cunt I've been watching on the telly. I went, who the fuck are you? He went, I'm his son. And we're good mates now. That's about 7, 8 years ago. We're really good mates. So Mum don't have nothing to do with him because he pledged allegiance to me, oddly enough. And I've got 4 grandchildren.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, it looks like I'm having a bit of trouble with the stream, so sorry to butt in there, Eddie. Probably,
that's right, that's it, mate, yeah.
Okay, well, probably a good spot here just to slip on a tune. Got a couple of minutes, and then we'll bring Karl in just to kind of discuss the issues surrounding this, hopefully on a kind of open floor discussion.
Okay, mate,
All right, okay, well, I'm going to go to a bit of Van Morrison, and It Stoned Me. Back in a bit. Right.
And the rain came pouring down. Me and Billy standing there.
Right, we're back on air, and this time with Karl from Canada, which some of you know from the TNS chat, and I think you've appeared on TNS as well as a guest before, haven't you, Karl?
I have, yeah. There's quite a few of the guests have invited me on. For the listeners' pleasure. Take that as you want.
And modest too. And you've been sort of listening in the background to Ed's story there as well, haven't you?
I have, Jack, yeah.
Okay. Anything that just immediately springs to mind about the accuracy of not only the story there, but its kind of extrapolation out to its societal consequences and its kind of breadth of its scale?
Well, I was listening to specifically when you touched on the pub incident, where it was the flash of anger that that really just went out of all proportion to the incident that caused it, and that to me is just something that I've witnessed so many times in the past too, as a cop. That there were certain
but it
events.
wasn't fair, was it?
What, to be denied the drink, you mean?
Yeah. I was clearly there, but the barman knew his mate behind me, and like he served his mate the drink, and shut the roller shutter things down and said, "Right, that's it, fuck off."
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, there's a right and a wrong. There's definitely a right and a wrong. But, as Jack and I were trying to allude to there, that particular, although it was, even in my thoughts, that's just it. It's a wrong event. But your reaction to it was way beyond what it should have been. I mean, most people's reaction to that would have been probably, rightly pissed off. But they will probably just walk away and just bitch and moan for a little while and, maybe complain to the friends that they might have been with. But again, what Jack was alluding to was that you went way beyond that to the extent of, getting your own back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
well, I
think I'm not being judgmental in that in any way whatsoever. I'm just pointing out that it's definitely, in your case and many other cases, it's stuff that I've seen before. People that are pushing back against the system because of what the system has done to them tend to push back at a much greater level than any event warrants.
And not exactly, and not necessarily as that event warrants. Although, if that incident was to be considered within the framework of the previous, the formative life of that person, it's likely that you're going to find a direct causality between his treatment as a child and as an adolescent and his behaviour as an adult.
Yeah, because I think you're very much restricted when you're a child. It's always that, especially in the British. I don't think it. Maybe across other areas of Europe too. But it's that children's thing or adults' view of children that you're seen and not heard. And if you say anything and do anything that's outside that scope, then you get smacked down. Now, in the case of being taken out of the family environment and pushed into a borstal system and a punishment system and a schooling system that you don't have contact with your family, you don't understand, and any questions you're asking are not answered, then there will be a pushback.
And you're going to make your own assumptions, aren't you? You're going to draw your own conclusions if you've got big questions about what's been meted out to you that aren't being answered. You're going to have to draw your own conclusions. The questions aren't just going to go away, are they? You would internalise them, wouldn't they?
And that's another problem, because they do internalise and
self-criminalise to a degree.
Exactly.
Even if the system itself doesn't criminalise you, then you will criminalise yourself because of this persistent, repeated drumming in of your badness.
Yeah, and you feel that it is your fault, and you've done something wrong, even when you haven't. So, that's one of the reasons I think why children that get into that situation eventually can commit suicide, and self-destruct.
I mean, how many? What sort of proportion of the people that you saw in the care home stream would you suggest came from families that they probably were best off away from, and that it was only the lack of kind of financial ability within the system to be able to properly nurture those children, and how much of it did you see where it was essentially sort of child snatching by the state and feeding of an offensive system that should never have been there in the first place, or certainly should never have been so corrupted?
When I think back about my experience and the people or the children that I was dealing with at the time, I did have a perception that there was a small number of them that most certainly, let's say, deserved to be in some form of care. Not necessarily there, but they sure as hell deserved to be away from their family. Because, of course, I was able to interact with family members as well. So they sure as hell didn't come from the greatest of stock. But being in these care homes was not necessarily the best place for them to be, for sure. But there were a good number of them shouldn't have been there at all. These kids literally were taken from what it seemed to me to be, loving parents, and capable parents too.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, a set of circumstances were put into place that. These kids were, well, sent on a path of self-destruction eventually, if they were in the system long enough.
Yeah, I mean, this is a point that you and I discussed in a chat off air, and I've used as a reference point many times in my program subsequently, was that you were saying that the repeat offenders, the cell fillers, the Saturday night cell fillers that you would see that you would see on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, would, generally speaking, you suggested a very high proportion had come through the so-called care system.
Yeah, I mean, the problem, as we discussed in, I think the first show we ever did, Jack, and I felt that, I knew that a lot of the crime that was being committed in the area that I certainly worked, and probably was the same in most places, was being committed by, young offenders for many different reasons, but there were a good portion of those that were repeat offenders that were actually in the care system or in a probationary, aspect of the system. They were rebelling against the system in as many different ways as they possibly could. But we usually found as well that if those particular young persons were arrested and put into custody, the crime figures diminished, at least while they were away. And then, of course, when they came back, the crime figures went back up again, because usually it's the same kids that were responsible for the crime. Now, as we'd already pointed out, a good many of them were those that were in the care system, and they usually ran away. They would never stay in the home at night. They'd find some way of either not coming back or escaping once they were in there somehow. And then it was, as you both discussed, it was find a popular car, and there were Cosworths and XR3s and all the usual suspects.
Now Austin A60.
Driving around the area. I'm sorry, Eddie.
Austin A60.
Now you are going back a bit.
Yeah. Sorry, no. I mean, when the Cosworth come out, that was a chip key. Chip in the sense that it was kind of like a barcode reader. The key in the fob actually had a chip.
Yeah, security chip, yeah.
Yeah, so you couldn't steal the car.
Well, they found a way of doing it, because we had quite a few of them go.
Oh, yeah. I've got software now I can do it with, but at the time it was, I don't know, kind of unheard of.
Well, again, there we also have the issue of all of these kind of ball stalls and prisons being essentially a university for criminality.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, it was, and that was one of the problems of some of these kids that I was mentioning before that shouldn't have been in these care home systems.
Yeah,
because they were being, a lot of them, were good, decent kids, and unfortunately they were being led by the, how would you call them, the leaders, let's say, of these homes, who were young kids themselves, the experienced kids, and, sometimes they were making the smaller, more vulnerable kids do things that they wouldn't normally have done. But if they didn't, they ended up getting beaten up themselves, because that was an environment within the care home system as well. I don't know, Jack, did you... You mentioned you'd experienced or heard some stories of a similar nature about how kids were affected within the care home environment. No, I think he's muted again. He's trying to fix the screen issue.
Hey, gentlemen. Sorry, my missus has just walked through the door and is being greeted by the pups, so I just muted out there momentarily. She will be joining us. She stumbles on the hoovers in various states of disrepair on the floor. She'll be joining us in a minute. She's worked with the social services system from the the other side of it from the kind of feeder streams into the social services. So she's got her own kind of voice on this particular subject. Sorry, carry on. Sorry, what were you asking, Karl?
Yeah, I was just referring to the vulnerable kids, the ones that I mentioned that I felt shouldn't have been really in the care.
Yeah. So even when those vulnerable kids were picked up on, the care in inverted commas that they received was less than proportionate or appropriate, perhaps.
But yeah, for sure. And as I say,
but did you realise that care was lacking at the time, or did you think were you still propagandised by the kind of the systems there to catch the vulnerable that we're all fed with?
No, that was a learning process, because the first few times that maybe the first 50 times that you go into the care home, the residential environment, you'll see or you'll hear the propaganda and how it's done this way and it's done that way, and we're really worried about them and this is the story. But the more experience you gain of all that, you kind of read between the lines a little bit, and you hear and see things that you didn't the first 10 or 15 times you went in. So again, it is a learning process, but you do find out stuff that you didn't believe to be the case when you first started going in there. And even then, I think you thought, well, how can people really do this? You try not to think about it, I think.
Sorry, I've muted out. And that is a big issue here as well, is that good people don't want to believe that bad things are being done. And especially not that bad things are being done in the name of, social services, the welfare state.
Yeah, I totally agree. I went into the job as an honourable person, socially minded and trying to do the right thing by the people and serve them the best way that I could. And fortunately, I was confronted with real life, and that's a very hard thing to swallow, and the more years that I spent in the job and the more that I saw, the worse it made me feel, physically and psychologically. And, one of the reasons, as I've discussed, why after 13 years I left the job.
Mm. And this is a very important point as well, is that, it probably is that the good men leave the force. Simply because there is no way. It's like it's like trying to move a monument. It's not. One person can't budget, and you see no fellows around you that are prepared to join you in returning what you saw as a service. The propaganda that you swallowed when you signed up that was non-existent.
Yeah, and there were an awful lot of people I did join with, and subsequent to me joining, that all came in seemingly for those right reasons, and you kind of know who they were. You talk to them, kind of think.
Well, Eddie was mentioning about in his childhood having had punishment meted out to him by a genuine peace officer, a genuine constable of the old school, and now he'd got a clip round the ear as his treatment for scrumping apples, instead of being dragged off down to the police station.
Yeah, and it's funny. I used to do the same thing. Some of the kids, though, unfortunately, they got kind of the benefit of the doubt for the first time, but some of them, we kind of knew who they were, and you couldn't really deal with them in that same way.
Again, would you not suggest that with a greater understanding of the meaning and the causes of dysfunctional children, that perhaps you may have applied your policing in a very different way in retrospect?
In retrospect, I have thought about the way I dealt with, with some of the, I'll put them in quotes, offenders that I dealt with, young and old. And, sometimes I get the feeling that certainly the younger ones felt that they were just going to get away with murder no matter what they did, because the Young Offenders Act was in force at the time, and they basically went through to court, got smacked hands, the courts themselves didn't know anything about the previous offences because they were never told about that stuff. So it was on the merits of the case that they were there for, and then they'd walk out. So even if I
kind of know what you mean, but coming from the other side of the fence, they were my kind of fellows at school. Essentially, like I say, I went to this secondary school that didn't exclude anybody, and as a result it became a sink school for all of the local schools. If anyone was expelled or excluded from any other local school, mine would be the first school and the next on the list.
Yeah.
Okay, and as a result, this is kind of the peer group that I went through school with, and essentially I understand what you're saying about the kind of troublemaker element, the element that discipline and correction doesn't seem to work on, and I would be absolutely adamant that there wasn't a single one of those of my peers who could be said to have any sort of consistent home life. Many of them were actually already in the care system. Certainly the one that I mentioned earlier, Chester, who kind of befriended me sort of halfway through the upper school and was essentially seen as the school bully, had an incredible story, and it just, just blurted it out to me one afternoon on the school playing field, and I think I've probably been the first person that he'd ever told it. And he'd been, just handed from pillar to post through the care home system and had learnt how to use his fists by way of, avoiding mistreatment. He actually went on to become a professional boxer, I think. That was his way out, through the boxing ring.
No, I mean, I understand, the people or the type of people that you're trying to refer to, but I think the point is that if they had been treated that way by maybe the first few cops or, people in authority, they might have thought slightly differently.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, if I was number 63 in the cop that was in authority...
Yeah, being there trying to pick up... I can imagine being there trying to pick up the pieces after all of this shrapnel has been dropped from a great height on society.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't have perceived me as being the good guy. They'd just look.
And again, now, in your dealings with people through the police station, would you say that quite a few people appeared to be in how should we describe it? Some kind of an altered state, that their reasoning and their rationing has gone adrift, and that perhaps after them calming down and possibly sobering up, indeed. Returning to some sort of normality, so the kind of the face that you're presented with the arrestee is not necessarily the person that you expect it to be when they've cooled their heels a little. A bit like Eddie's rage there. I should imagine that when Eddie was then, dragged off to the police station, he probably went along quite meekly, having returned from his uncontrolled emotional state.
Yeah,
Would I be right in thinking, Eddie? Sorry, we're leaving you out there a bit, Eddie.
No, it's all right, mate. It's all very interesting. I'm thinking.
No, well, Eddie, you're on or have been on the receiving end of some of the stuff that I'm talking about. So, by all means, jump in if you want to disagree or, maybe clarify a point that I'm bringing up, because, of course, I've not been on that other side. I'm seeing it, or was seeing it certainly then, while I was doing it from the point of view of a cop, albeit, one who was trying to be honourable as much as he possibly could, throughout his career. And unfortunately was indoctrinated to some extent by the training procedure of law and order. You kind of get that you kind of get the training that you are the authority above everybody else, and that law is the law, and there is no real exception to it. Although, if you look at pretty much every single law out there, there's always that phrase, without lawful excuse. And now we're coming up against this question about, well, actually, what the hell is lawful excuse? In fact, it was one of the first questions I asked when I was going through the training. Yeah. I was always told that it was, lawful excuse was the defence. It wasn't, as we're discovering, the fact that you could actually be a sovereign and not actually subject to these statutes and acts. That was your lawful excuse. But of course, anybody who knows this can say that. But I was told every time I asked, no, that's whatever the defence is the lawful excuse. Well, my response was, well, why don't they say defence then and not lawful excuse? And then we know exactly what it is.
Got your slippers in your lappy. That's all right. Okay, I've just got a question here from the chat box. We've got Peaceful on the chat box here. We've got the sound has been chopping in and out because the storm's blowing in on the Irish Sea. So I think people are kind of getting and losing us here and there. And they just missed the bit where Eddie was talking about trying to get what was held on him on the police computer, and has asked if I can ask him about that again, and perhaps you might even be able to help him with some of the terminology and what exactly this file was that was being kept on him.
Yeah, I put a comment in the chat box earlier on that mentioned it was the local intelligence file. Certainly on the division that I worked at, that we had what we called the local intelligence office, which was the collator of information that came from individual cops on whoever it might have been, whatever it might have been. There could be a store somewhere that's certain strange activities going on, or there was a file that was kept, and at the time it was paper files. Chances are it's probably all computerized now, but again, still subject to data protection. So, you may not get access to it because it's a private system designed for easy access of each individual cop, but it's not part of the official record. So the police national computer has no access to this. It's completely separate, and in fact at the time was completely local as well, because it was paper based. You literally had to go into the local intelligence office and go, thumbing through all the paper cards to get this.
When a file was really a file.
Exactly, yeah, literally a file, and you could get the information.
I know that there was a file held on us as New Age travellers as well, because it would be sat on the desk in the background in every police or dole interview, marked with a big red T and a circle round it, and we all had them. We'd all seen them at one point or another. Sometimes they were kind of waved at us like some sort of threat.
Yeah. Now, were those though the computerized, or was that local records?
That was that would have been sort of local records. That was way pre-computerisation.
Yeah. Okay.
Or certainly centralised computerisation.
Yeah, so, that, as far as I can tell from what Eddie was referring to, probably would have been the information that he was talking about.
Okay, and how far did you get, Eddie, on actually managing to find out how much of this information was held on you?
I actually gave up.
So you got essentially nowhere?
No.
So there's a blank wall. What, denial that the information was even being held, or just denial of your ability to access it?
No, I thought, what a load of bollocks. Like, hang on a minute. We've got an authority holding information, suspicious information, on my character. I've tried to access it, and I've got to jump through so many hoops and hurdles in order to get this. I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, just give up. I don't care. I'm not.
Yeah, I think there was a time, Eddie, that you couldn't access that information. Certainly, under the local intelligence office paper records that were file indexed, you couldn't access. If you did any kind of request for information, all you got back was the official record, which was that was held on the police national computer, PNC, which had all of the criminal record entries, and there was sometimes a local one, but in essence it gave you the same information, just sometimes in a more detailed form. But the intelligence files, they were strictly either, and in essence were almost hearsay, which is why they could never be given out officially, because there was no.
But these are the self-same reports that are now being used in these closed courts, in the closed family courts. That the proceedings aren't even being allowed to be reported in public, from what we're hearing.
Yeah.
So there's sort of hearsay evidence that can't be supported in any real court of law in front of a jury, or aired in any public sense, is the very same evidence that's currently being used to, again, remove children from families who aren't necessarily in appropriate places of safety for those children, and they are being removed into a care stream that is so perhaps corrupted, if at the very least broken at its core, that they're more likely to come to harm having entered the care stream than they would have done had they have been kept with their real parents.
Yeah, I think. I've gone through my own personal issues as far as the child services are concerned over here in Canada. I don't know if I mentioned the story, but I'm just going through it briefly. That my son, not long after we arrived in Canada, within a couple of years, met up with a girl here. They kind of dated for a little while. He found out that she was cheating with several other guys at the same time as they were seeing each other, and he told her where to go. And a very short time after that, she said, "Oh, I'm pregnant and it's yours." And he said, "Well, prove it." And then for the next 3.5 years, she never did, but all the time was asking for money. I want support. Anyway, it turns out that the welfare, because she was a welfare junkie, let's say, they forced the issue and ended up going to court, proving paternity and so on. Turns out that it was my son's child.
Yeah.
And that was okay. He stepped up to the plate. He did what he needed to do. But within about 18 months of that happening, Child Services became involved and actually, in fact, the mother placed the child in care. About a week and a half, we'd had him for Christmas. Took him back in the January, and within a week and a half, she dropped him off and her other son from another guy at the local foster home, and put them in custody of the Child Protective Services. And then they went through the proceedings then to start putting him in care. And they didn't even approach Andrew, my son, okay, he's your son, you have him, you look after him.
Well, this is where Eddie comes in as well, because the fathers just don't seem to be considered to be suitable lone parents, and I know that I bloody stand there as testament to that being true, because I brought up my first boy from about 18 months to 3 or 4 as essentially the lone parent, being supported by a part-time mother, only to then have him taken off of me through the courts by the mother, who went on to mistreat him for the time that he was in her care.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I mean, from my perspective as an honourable person, any man who stands up to the plate, they are capable of taking care of their own children and have the heart, the love and the intelligence and the integrity to do it. So why the system automatically puts them in the position of low life, deadbeat position is just, I can't fathom it. The good thing was that because it went immediately into the court system, and they were trying to put as soon as it was, my grandson into care, I said, basically, they ain't doing that. Andrew, my son, was going to stand up because he said the same thing. But how do we do it? Now, initially, he was going to go to a lawyer and get them to sort it out. But the lawyers wanted up front $2,500. That was just a start.
Ouch.
Yeah, exactly. And that, I think, if we'd have gone through the whole process, it probably would have cost us about $10,000 just to get our own grandson back.
Yeah.
So, as it turned out, there was a little feisty, let's say. Had no fear of the lawyer system and the care system. I basically shot the shit out of him, and we now have custody of my son now has custody of his son, and we've got a son.
Lovely.
But it basically shot them all right out into space, and rebutted everything that they were putting against Andrew having his son, and so on and so on, because they wanted him to go into the foster system.
Well, this was something that I was just about to mention as well, was that with me being a New Age traveller, in inverted commas, at the time that the kind of court cases over my boy here were going on, we sailed very close to the wind to getting him fucking taken off of us through the child services thing, and it was only by the good grace of me not wanting to outline his mum's problems and her not being too venomous about me that we managed to actually keep him at all. But certainly that was something that was being mentioned all the time through that sort of thing, was, you know what I mean, be very careful because you could end up with no child here, which is a good way to go into any situation, any sort of court situation over a child, knowing that both of you could end up losing him.
Oh yeah, easily. And actually, I mean, the time that it took for us to go through that, I mean, we ended up... Actually, I made a slight mistake in the very beginning because I didn't stand up to a special judge that they brought in for the day, as I realised later. But he was one of those angry judges. Had no patience whatsoever.
Provocative.
The provocative judge, exactly. I'd put a motion before the court that day, so we turned up. And bearing in mind, this is a 4.5 hour drive we had to make to get to the court from where we lived to where she was living, and the child was being looked after. So I had a 4.5 hour drive. I get to the court. I'm not representing my son. He was representing himself. But of course, I'm trying to coach him on all this stuff. And I put this motion before the court, and he was supposed to be basically saying, well, if my dad, I want him to represent, and off you go. Didn't turn out that way. I stood up, started speaking to the court, and the judge said, "Who are you?" I said who I was, and I'm grandfather, and Andrew's asked that I represent him in this matter. And he said, "Hang on a minute, how old are you?" referring to my son. And he said, at the time, 27, said, "You're old enough. You can represent yourself. You sit down." So I stood there for a few minutes, and then I thought, hang on a minute, should I really piss off the judge in a case where it
involves your exactly. You've got a lot to lose.
Yeah, so in this case, I sat down. But even so, I still stuck it to him and embarrassed, later on anyway, I've embarrassed the CAS lawyer and, managed to get evidence onto the court file that they wouldn't normally put in because I had it read out in court and definitely produced affidavits that were placed into the court file. So there was none of this, we didn't know this, we didn't know that, because I'd made damn sure that all of our information was in that file. Because normally that's not what happens. It all gets filed by the other side, but of course you as the respondent, who doesn't know any better usually, you're represented by a lawyer, they put absolutely nothing in. So there's nothing in the court file except all the evidence against you. And of course they fined for the plaintiff. But in this case they couldn't, because I had put the evidence in the court record. Yeah. That showed.
How did you actually go about that? Something to clarify if people are in this situation. How did you go about putting that into the record? As far as I'm aware, it's simply a matter of issuing it to one of the clerks of the court as a document to be franked and admitted.
Well, you don't necessarily do it to the in the court itself, because normally you have to file within 48 hours of the court case itself.
Okay.
So, yes, you do file it with the court itself. There's the file office downstairs. You have to create an affidavit normally and push in any kind of motion that you're, whatever the motion is, to either quash any kind of evidence. It really is dependent on what the case is and what the evidence is against you. But you always have to rebut everything that's given, because they normally put something in an affidavit form, a statement form from the CAS workers. You have to rebut everything, all that information, to make sure that you don't agree by acquiescence, basically, with any of that information that's placed in the file. You
basically rebut any accusations directly.
Directly, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you have to do it again in affidavit form, referring to their affidavit, so that you're rebutting everything that they say. You then have to send them a copy of that.
I mean, how is the common person supposed to bloody know how to do this? This is why the law is an ass. The common man cannot possibly know the law, nor can the common policeman working the fucking beat. They can know aspects of the law, but they cannot know the law, and in ignorance of the law, how can you possibly prosecute the law?
Yeah, I mean, we're only told so much.
I mean, even the magistrates don't know any bloody law, do they? They've got their little whispers to the clerk of the court, which is how they find out what the law books say, because they don't know all about it. Been there, seen them, done it.
It's the clerk of the court who's the power in the court.
Yeah, and it just.
So, but I mean, that's how you would generally do it. So you make sure the other party, you file it with.
Okay, and whereabouts would you file that whereabouts would you file that in a court? With that, because usually there's only like a payments office, isn't there, where you go to pay your fines.
Actually, sometimes it's the same place.
Yeah, that's what I was suspecting. That's why I said that. I was just guessing, but a fair guess that the place where you have to go to have a go back is the place where they normally only extract cash from you, and the last place you would think of to go and actually present legal documents.
Yeah, it's usually all the
last place that you'd want to go is where they're going to put it.
Yeah,
filed under beware of the panther.
It's funny actually, because if you go on the good side with these people, and it's usually women that are there as well, you can actually get an awful lot of help from them if you go in there, because you're
well, this is something that I've always been adamant as well about, is that you cannot run a system like this without many of the people being involved in that system being completely bought by the propaganda that goes with that system. They must be convinced of its goodness, of its rightness, of its functionality, in order to be able to maintain the human face that they do.
Oh, well, exactly. I mean,
which leads me to believe that the system as a whole isn't necessarily broken. It's just the way in which that system is being administered, and that's really what we've got to rather than keep throwing the baby out with the bathwater, we've got to look at what we've got and what needs to be done to it and where it went wrong, and kind of maybe wind the clock back a bit and go, hold on a minute, we had all that sorted back then before you put all this shit on top of it, sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one of the things that I pointed out recently on another talk somewhere was we need to go back to kind of the laws I think we had on the books around 1900, erase everything else since then, because realistically, most of the laws around that time were based on the original common law, which was, do no harm, loss, damage, fraud in your contracts and kind of thing. It's all the shit after that involves, you've got to have a birth certificate, you've got to have a driving license, and all these traffic laws and stuff
and
like that.
The ease of which the common man is criminalised. I mean, I would suggest that apart from my little dalliance with motor crime, that I've led a fairly, in my early teens, I've led a fairly moral life. I haven't stolen, and even the cars that I would steal, I'll put them back.
Yeah, but don't forget as well that it's the system itself, Jack, that puts people in that position where they do such a thing.
Yeah,
because it's a system of
requiring a licence and insurance and.
Well, it's not just that. It's there's only a certain amount of money in the system, and you don't have it. usually. And because
Boy,
you
I
can't
didn't bloody have it.
They promote all of this marketing and the drive for consumerism. Then if you can't get it through normal means, and they make it very, very hard for you to do that, then the only other way of getting it is stealing it. So, the system itself makes you a criminal. And generally, even shoplifters, you remember a story I told about that a long time ago. But, even generally honest people, for whatever reason, all of a sudden slip and start stealing things that they wouldn't normally do. They're just generally honest people, but for whatever reason they can't. They don't
have need. That was actually something that used to be included into theft, didn't it? Whereas if you were stealing for need, it was a lesser crime than if you were stealing out of greed.
Yeah, well, it was always taken into an account, but and that was one of the story that I relayed about the shoplifter that I had to deal with. I dealt with that one from exactly that point. This guy had never been in trouble before, been out of work for 10 months, couldn't barely feed his family, paid a shitload of money in terms of what he had for shopping, and stole £3.69's worth of canned tuna and good quality food that he didn't pay for, but he paid £30 for the rest of the shopping.
I used to do the same. I used to do the same when I was impoverished. I would shop.
And I think many people did and still do. Maybe more so now than they ever might have done then. But the whole system came down and forced me to act, even though I used my discretion to say to the security guard at that company, well, just ban him. You've got your stuff back. I'm not necessarily prepared to arrest him for theft. He's in a bad way. Give him the benefit of the doubt. Don't screw up the rest of his life by having an offence on his record for theft, when all he's trying to do is look after his family, when he can barely feed him and is getting ready to be thrown out of his house. Oh no, we've got to, everybody is going to be prosecuted for theft or for shoplifting. And unfortunately, he made me take that guy down. And because it was an offence and they wanted to prosecute, I would have been in breach if I had...
the choice was taken away from you.
So how can you then do that if you disagree? So sorry, but how can you go ahead and prosecute someone knowing what you're doing?
That was the eye-opener for me, because at that point, obviously, I was thinking in black and white as far as the law was concerned, because that was the way I was taught. And that was one of the big eye-openers for me that turned my life around even quicker, if you like, and opened my eyes to what really was going on, because that was one more event that kind of proved the point. The only saving grace, when I interviewed this guy, I literally put myself in his position and basically said, by the grace of God, that could be me. Because he was generally a good guy, a good, honest guy, who all he wanted to do after 10 months of being out of work and having no money, or very little money, wanted to give his family some good food. And it was a heartfelt... It was a heartfelt thought on his part, and a genuine intention, and he got caught, and it got thrown back at him, and for doing good, he ended up in hell, so to speak. And this guy, while I was interviewing him, was in tears. That's how bad it was for him. And it was pretty bad for me, because as I say, I twisted it around and said, well, that could be me there. It really could, because he was just doing the same thing that I might have done in his position. And that was what changed it from black and white to very big shades of grey. And made me think
does that answer your question about how you can do that? You can do it with tears in your eyes, love. Perhaps.
Yeah, but did you do it the next day and the day after?
Yes, I did. And I spent a good portion of my career being... let's say, been attacked by my colleagues, the people I work with, because I didn't toe the party line. And that's one of the reasons it screwed up my life. And this is how it's affected me. I mean, if you want the truth of the system, after 13 years, I was medically retired from the police force. I stayed in it that long because I did so for the health and well-being of my family, because at the time we were going through the recession, through a good portion of the 80s and the 90s. And I wanted to.
So essentially, you would have had to have thrown your family onto hardship in order to be able to leave the profession that you'd chosen and found to be not what you expected.
Because I felt that what could I offer at that point? You know, if I left the police service, then in the middle of a recession, how am I going to find a job?
Well, you'd end up being a fucking security guard, wouldn't you?
Yeah, probably, because that was
or management in a security firm, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Certainly not out of any way out of the service, just gone from the public sector of the service to the private sector of the service, which is hardly a step up in life, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, of course, even then, you're aware of that. My dad was proud of me because I became a cop. He didn't necessarily think so a little later on because I wasn't progressing through the service. You know, some of the other people that he knew had become sergeants and were going up to inspectors, and I was still a constable. But to be honest, I didn't want to have anything more to do with, the system and try and raise myself up within it. I just wanted to survive it for the next 20 years so that I could retire early and take care of my family in the process. But in the end, it actually split the family because my wife and I separated for 3 years as a result of the shit that the staying in that job created and how it affected me.
And had you have stayed in the job, having separated with your wife, you would have probably been nurtured and brought it enveloped into the bosom of the police family, and possibly have lowered your moral standards in order to keep that position of comfort and security.
I saw it all the time, Jack.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying, is that this would appear to be possibly almost an intentional dehumanisation of everybody in the force. And this is something I'd love to bring Eddie back in here. This is something we were discussing off air a little as well, the sort of hang 'em high theory, which I entirely understand on behalf of the likes of Eddie, who suffered at the hands of others. But I'm very much of the mind that we need amnesty. We need a complete amnesty and a throwing of a spotlight onto all of this without the kind of rampaging mob and the idiots with banners going and throwing bricks through... what was it? What people who do feet? Not paediatricians. They're children's doctors, aren't they? Pedicurists or whatever. When the Sun had one of their anti-pedophilia campaigns, one of the names that they put up in one of the online things was like somebody who did people's feet. And his house call its windows bricked because he's a
paediatrician. Is that what you're talking about?
No, a paediatrician does children in it, but there were a few cases of that. But this particular person was like, it's like a pedicurist, I think it is. Somebody who trims people's toenails. And this poor git got his house windows bricked because they couldn't tell the difference between paedophile and pedicurist. But,
okay.
So I mean, this is what happens when you get a mob mentality. This is what I want to try so very hard to prevent with the exposure of these subjects, especially because the people involved are so very, very vulnerable, even as adults. They've usually not had a very good time of it, and this kind of unravelling of a huge, long-held secret and of modern abuses of a system that is completely broken now is you know what I mean? It's going to cause an awful lot of casualties. An awful lot of people are going to get hurt in the process, and that's not necessarily going to be the people that need or are wanting to be.
No, you're right. Actually, I don't know if you saw that comment that I put in the chat box probably a couple of hours ago now.
Oh, that'll be miles up. I try not to pay any attention to the chat box while I'm on air, apart from glancing up occasionally, just otherwise because it's just too distracting and I end up just talking gibberish. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to bring it back up again because I thought it was relevant, and I think it's relevant to what we're talking about now, where I actually mentioned the Milgram shock experiment.
Uh-huh.
Now, do you know what that is?
Oh, I know the one, yeah, where people are invited to shock a subject if they get an answer wrong, and with increasing voltages where the dials are marked up to lethal voltage, and the number of people who continue the experiment to the point where they honestly believe they're giving somebody a lethal shock, and they still carry on. It was about 20%, wasn't it, or something ridiculous?
It was... I'm trying to think. It was about 12% when it was first carried out. I think they've done a similar experiment more recently, and it was over a third. I think it was about 36% actually continued. So you're right, that's exactly what it was. And these were just genuine, honest, hard-working, normal, run-of-the-mill people. They weren't bad in any way, hadn't had any kind of strange upbringing. They were just normal society people. And they were asked to carry out this experiment, but it was based on their ability to accept authority.
Yeah,
and that's all it was. It was authority that told them that they must do this. And this is why I bring it up, is because it shows that the system is winning in its drive to have everybody in society follow authority without question. And that experiment is exactly that. Because they were following the authority without question, even though that they were supposedly giving people 450-volt lethal shocks, and actually 3 times past the point that these people went silent.
Yeah.
Because the experiment, I mean, it was all
so they would have believed that they would have basically zapped the person unconscious.
Yeah, or dead. They've already killed them at that point, and they're still giving them these lethal, zaps. They were, I saw that just said, "No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it."
Yeah.
And thank God for those people.
Yeah.
Because, to be honest, that would be me. I know that would be me.
Yeah.
Authority. I mean, I say sorry for the French, but
you
say it all the time.
Can I just try and bring Eddie back in here? We're kind of running up towards 1 o'clock, and we've been on air for 3 hours. So, Eddie, what are your thoughts on Karl's kind of other side of the fence view from the world that you and I have experienced? Are you getting any kind of insights? Is this kind of filling in a few gaps for you, or are you got any questions you'd like to bring forward?
No, I mean, it's quite strange, really, because Karl clearly has a story to tell, and he's been, I don't know, indoctrinated by the ways and means, and he has. It's just that. I don't know. He seems like a lovely geezer, Karl.
Thanks, Eddie.
Yeah, fair play to you, mate. You seem like you're on the ball, true and honest and everything. But I mean, where the fuck are all the old Bill gone that were like you?
Yeah, but was he like that when he was a policeman? Is my point. Sorry.
Yes, that was what I was trying to tell you. I joined. Well, you missed the very beginning. I'll give you the benefit of that one. But yeah, I joined, as Jack put it, as a socially minded person with honest intentions, and believed the propaganda of what the police service was supposed to be. But it's only when I got in and, reality hits home that you find that it's not that way. And I'm not saying that I dealt 100% in a completely honest and integral way. There were probably a couple of occasions that I would rather didn't happen, but that's 5% of a 95% career in my view. And here's a prime example, and I don't want to go too long, but I'm going to do a quick example of how I stood up against the system. I was out, still within my probationary period, and I was out with the sergeant on nights. We just started the 11 o'clock shift. We're driving round. Sergeant basically was a bit of a bastard, to be honest. He was one of those knife you in the back, real ones that you really don't want to know. Nasty guy. And anyway, we saw her drunk, wandering up the street, obviously drunk, on his own, not noisy, just couldn't walk in a straight line. So we pull up, the sergeant gets out, starts questioning the drunk. The drunk has come from a pub that's 50 yards round the corner, and his house where he lived was 50 yards round the other corner, so really close. And he started poking this drunk, but at the same time he was standing on his foot. So of course the drunk could barely balance, almost fell over and grabbed the railings next to him, and then kind of forced himself back up, almost bounced into the sergeant. The sergeant pushed him again and poked him again, and then of course he got really belligerent and said, fuck off, stop fucking poking me, and pushed his hand away from him. So the sergeant just turned around to me and he said, there you go, arrest him, drunk and disorderly. Now I know he'd done this trick with a couple of other probationers because I'd heard the stories, but at this point I said, nope, I'm not going to arrest him. The guy only lives around the corner, he's not being drunk and disorderly, and I'm not going to arrest him. So I caught shit for the next 5 years for that, because of course that story went round the station and everybody else. So I was well known for doing that. But that's how I stood on integrity, and it didn't do me any good whatsoever in the service, but it did me a hell of a lot in my own self-esteem.
Yeah. Didn't forward your career greatly then?
No, not at all.
Not a big career move.
No, it wasn't a great career move at all. But that's where I stand, and unfortunately, there are people that might come in like that, but they follow in line. They get in step behind the rest of the people, and they either get out because they can't stand it anymore, or they change the ways, or they're like that anyway. You come across a 15-year or 20-year cop on the street still, then you'd better run the other way, because you don't want to have any dealings with that guy, because he's a bastard. He's an egotistical bastard, and he'll stab you in the back and screw you 6 ways from Sunday. Because if he's still on the street after that many years, and he's that old, then he's not the kind of person that has integrity and honesty on.
He's not Dixon a Dock Green then.
Definitely not. No.
Okay. Well, in summing up, we're hitting 1 o'clock, so I'm going to go to some tunes. I've been down with a bad chest all day yesterday, so I don't want to trouble my throat for too much longer, so I'm going to stick some tunes on for the people. But in summing up, would you say that from both of your angles, where your life has gone through these kind of tumultuous times, that perhaps you've kind of been through and come out the other side now, and are beginning to feel that life's perhaps going a bit more your way?
Me personally, Jack, I have a greater understanding of the system now because of the great deal of research and study I've done across many, many different subjects. Some of the listeners will know because I've talked about them with other hosts for different shows. So I know that my life, is good in compared to what it has been and what it could be. And I do as much as I possibly can to educate others that need education, to give them a greater power within the system as well. Preferably those that are a bit younger, so that they can fight back with knowledge and education and action, rather than being steamrolled by the system. which is what's happening to an awful lot of people because they don't know. They have no knowledge.
And Eddie, last few words from you, mate. It's been a fabulous show, mate. I'm just so proud of you for bringing this to the air.
Yeah, I'm quite taken aback by Karl. His most righteous attitude. He did the right thing, like that drunk and that, and all the other things the man has said. He's righteous. He's on the ball. He's like, you know, he's kind of where I'm coming from as well. Like, if I could turn back the time and I was in Karl's footsteps, I would tread the same steps. No question.
Okay, gentlemen. Well, just an absolute fabulous show. I'm going to sign off on the mic now and just go to playing tunes. Normally, me and my mate Super Dubs do a music show from midnight, but he's off seeing a man about a dog. Don't look like he's got back yet, so I'm going to give my throat a rest and play a few tunes. You're welcome to listening on TNS afterwards. This has been Karl from Canada and Eddie Goldtooth from all the way over there and on the other side of the river in Dagenham.
No.
Dagenham. Only to be said with a plum in your gob. And a twinkle in your eye. All right, and Eddie,
I appreciate listening to your story, Eddie. It takes a lot of courage to talk about your past that way. You know, and I wish you all the best for your future, and I hope that what you've gone through in the past, you know, is a strength for you for the future and isn't an impediment. But you know, I'm glad to have been on the show with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, Karl, thank you very much. I respect that, and listening to blokes like you
gives you a bit of hope for the world, doesn't it?
Yeah. Gives me hope, mate. Fair play to you, fella. Fair play to you.
All right, then.
Thank you.
Good night, gentlemen. I'm going to close the mic and say good night to you off air here. I'm just going to set a tune in order for the missus here, just to keep my life running smoothly.
She who must be obeyed.
Yeah, definitely she who must be obeyed.
That's so not true.
Yeah, you like to think so. All right, okay. Thanks. This has been freemanjack, Karl from Canada, and Eddie Goldtooth on TNS Radio. Going global, boys.